Hi, and welcome to SCW Live Q&A, back once again answering your questions in the wrestling community. It's been a busy old week, isn't it? We've got a brand new WWE champion in Big E. We've got a brand new NXT champion in Tommaso Ciampa. And of course, NXT 2.0. Want to know your thoughts in the comment section, what you thought about it. But we're going to get started straight after this. So without further ado, then have to get a special guest on as always. I can't answer these questions on my own, can I? And we're from Jonesy Chats Wrestling with NXT 2.0 coming on last night. It felt very appropriate to get NXSteve in the house. How are you doing?
Yeah, very good. Thank you, Steve. Thank you for having me on.
It's great to have you on, and really looking forward to discussing all the topics in the wrestling community. And like I say, get your questions in nice and early. We've got plenty to talk about as well. So it's going to be a busy old time. Jonesy is in the house with us as well. Says, good evening, lads. Hope you're well. We are very well indeed. Thank you for checking out the stream. Looking forward to your questions. I mean, first off, before we get any questions in, obviously, Jonesy Chats Wrestling, you do a lot of the collabs on there. You've done some watch-alongs. You do a lot of NXT reviews. Tell us a bit about it. And obviously, your initial thoughts of NXT 2.0.
So it's been a bit of a hiatus at the minute from NXT reviews, just because I don't like doing the pre-recorded stuff, because anyone can just go online and find out the results from them. But yeah, they started back last night. It wasn't as bad as I initially thought it was going to be, because when you say you put Vince McMahon and Bruce Pritchard and anything, it sort of turns to dust and it just doesn't work out. But yeah, it just wasn't as bad as what a lot of people I think were dreading it would be. But it turned out all right in the end. It was sort of a 50-50 show for me with some of the stuff that was on there.
Yeah, I mean, there was a few ups, there perhaps was a few downs as well. But what I would say is overall, as a package of what they're going to represent, this certainly feels more like the NXT mold of what they were looking for from the start. I kind of feel like I went through a time machine. It was almost like going back to 2012 of all these fresh faces I didn't know, perhaps even like SCW back in the day. Did you get that same sort of similar vibe watching it?
Yeah, I mean, you get that probably probably 5-10 minutes in after the first match, and you've got Bron Breakker, which one of the worst names ever. He's backstage being congratulated by 5 or 6 people, and literally you don't know a single one of them. It was kind of a sort of a weird bit to put in, that the fact that he's well done for winning your first ever match, but here's 5-6 characters that we don't actually know who they are.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, it would have been nice if there'd been like one established name, because I kind of looked at that and it was almost like, do you remember back with 2002 Kurt Angle? We made that sort of open challenge. We got that ruthless aggression moment with John Cena coming out, slapping him. We didn't know who he was. Had this great 15-minute sort of match with Kurt Angle at the time. It kind of felt that sort of vibe where LA Knight was just so cocky and thinking, I can do this guy in 2 minutes, not a problem. I've got a championship match later, but look, it's a jabroni. I'll put him in his place. And instead, he was actually done over by this Bron Breakker. And you thought you just need that established person backstage. I suppose it's not in Tommaso Ciampa's character. We did see him come face-to-face later in the evening. Did it sort of fit for maybe like a Kyle O'Reilly, maybe a name of that stature, to have just gone and said, well done, kid. Wow, you've put over someone that's going to be in our main event later?
Yes, exactly. You would have just needed someone just to give a nice little rub, just to say, "Oh, I'm the vet here in NXT, and well done for doing well." So yeah, here's a handshake and a well done and a pat on the back and on your way. But like I said, I think the whole point of it was for that Ciampa bit at the end of the show. But just say one nice like sort of established face would have been nice.
Yeah, definitely indeed there. And the comments are flying in nice and early. We've got BC Hunter in the house, says, hey guys, good to catch one of these live. Well, thank you for tuning in live as well. And we have got to see the first question that's come from you, which we'll be tackling very, very shortly. Jonesy says that this felt like WWE Superstars level of importance. Too many new people, no backstory. Well, let's just dive into that, because obviously there was a lot of new faces. Now, the one thing that's a negative about this, I don't remember everyone's names straight away. And I think that is where it comes a bit of, like you say, a bit too much cluster. But at the same time, this really showed a new direction of NXT. It showed it's going to be more developmental. Did you feel that perhaps we needed more backstory with these names, maybe more vignettes?
Yeah, I mean, NXT is normally good for doing their hype packages. You normally get a sort of a 2-3 week build of promos and stuff before they make their in-ring debut. But to go with the 2.0 rebranding and then just throw, I don't know, probably 7 or 8 brand new faces into the show with no backstory, it kind of sort of throws you. It's almost as if it's a brand new promotion, and you've got all these brand new wrestlers, and it's like, how are you supposed to be invested in all these brand new wrestlers if they don't have a backstory or they don't have an established character?
You can argue that, but perhaps would there be people that you think maybe stood out this week and you think, well, I need to keep an eye on what they're going to do going forward?
Yes, when it comes to the likes of maybe Bron Breakker, the Creed brothers had already sort of made their debut a couple of weeks ago, and they did really well tonight. B-Fab having her first in ring, yes, but then like some of the characters, like Ivy Nile was a nice introduction, so it wasn't just thrown in. But then you've got the likes of Josh Briggs was already put up, but his tag team partner Brooke Jensen, and it was like these two are already a tag team, but there's no gumph to it, so it's kind of almost fell flat on its ears when they came out. But it was only with, say, of the probably sort of 8 new faces, I'd say probably half of them sort of fell a bit flat, especially the guy who come out with Carmella Hayes, Trek Williams, I think his name was.
Williams, yeah. That's the one.
I won't lie, I really struggled to watch that segment because he looked inexperienced on the mic, and it almost looked like he threw Carmelo Hayes off for me. So yeah, I wasn't a big fan of his segment.
I would actually agree. You could see he kind of lost his footing at one point, and he kind of had to struggle. It was almost like a big pause, and he had to find his way back. Credit to him for getting back to it, though, because he did find his way back into it, completed it. Didn't have to do like a Randy Orton back in the day and saying, "What's my line?" or something like that. So he managed to sort of get it back together. But like you said there, some people, they're not quite ready. But then this is perhaps what it's meant to be about, because if you look back, say, I don't know, back to 2012, when all these sort of started, we got a Roman Reigns we didn't know. We didn't know Big E, and both of them right now stand as your world champions. Do we see potential with a few of those names of potentially, seeing down the line could be these WrestleMania main eventers that Vince is looking for?
Well, Brock Breakker is meant to be apparently one of Vince's like guys that he can see main event in WrestleMania in the future. So as long as it isn't like how it's normally reported with Vince's favorite person in the minute, and then his push has been done after 3 weeks, he could go pretty far. Ivy Nile looked like she looked intimidating, and it's almost like I want to see what she can do in a ring. She does look intimidating. So, but then with some of them, the Creed brothers, they'd already done so well. Brooke Jensen getting a loss on his debut hasn't sort of really helped build him. And Trek Williams obviously didn't have the best of starts, but it could all be turned around. But yeah, if you was going to say to me in a minute, anyone that could main event out of them, it's probably going to be Bron Breakker. Sorry, that name is just so terrible. I keep forgetting it.
Yeah, I mean, let's be fair. It should be Rex Steiner. Rex Steiner seems to be very popular in the comments already. BC Hunter saying they hate the name, but Steiner is a beast. Do you think it's possible they pull the trigger on him and quickly strap the title on him? Of course, he did confront Tommaso Ciampa at the end of the show.
Yeah, for a guy that was supposed to be pushed high straight away, I don't know why they didn't have him in place of Von Wagner. There was no build for Von Wagner. It's just Regal just announces that he's in this 4-way for the NXT Championship, and not that he didn't have a bad display, but you would have thought that he'd be more suited to it. But then I suppose if they want it to be Ciampa versus Breakker in the future, then this is the way they have to go about it.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't want to do everything and forgive the expression, blow your load all in one night. You don't want to. You want to sort of build this guy up over a course of weeks and months. And he's beat LA Knight on the first given night here. He looked impressive doing so. Also, I saw on your review actually, you kind of give a bit of a comparison to Mojo Rawley, which I kind of felt when you saw him backstage. When he got in ring though, he was all business. He felt like he was the real deal.
He felt like a complete tank. But yeah, like from the initial look of him, I was like his outfit and attire, like it was really colourful, like what Mojo used to wear, but then it's sort of a one piece and the design was kind of Chad Gable-esque. And I was like, I can see the comparisons there. But yeah, he's just a different animal in the ring. The really, really good display. It's just hopefully that, it's not a Vince McMahon push and in 3 weeks he's just sitting there and catering doing nothing.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's hope not, indeed. But Rex Steiner, the original name would have been far better. I think we both have already said we would agree with that. But certainly, Braun Breaker, for what it is, perhaps maybe there's always an outside bet that he doesn't want to have the Steiner name. Maybe he wants to do something different, create his own legacy. There's always that potential. So there's a lot of second generations involved there that didn't have their original names. It would have been easy to have had Buchanan. Would have been easy to have, I believe it was Wayne Bloom's son, like you said, is the Von Wagner. So it potentially this could be the reason why. And we'll have to wait and see what it will do long term. And who knows, maybe there could be a name change later down the line. But yeah, it is what it is for now. But we do agree that Rex Steiner is definitely a lot better. Jones did say as well, I really don't get why they did the rebrand. The old NXT was great. It's just the booking of talent on the main roster tends to destroy legitimacy. So, I mean, I have actually quite a lot to say about this, Silky. So, I mean, do you mind if I go ahead on it first? Or do you have an input? The reason I think this is why they've done the rebrand is because of the fact that NXT, as what it was a great show, but it wasn't what NXT was supposed to be. Now, you could argue that NXT had gone too far, had become the third brand, so it should have just gone off on its own. And instead, we could have got Evolve, because this was pretty much Evolve, what we're watching, was like an NXT back from 2010, 11, 12, rather than seeing all these indie talents going through. I think that we're going to get a lot of stars from NXT going to Raw and SmackDown in the draft. I think that a lot of the faces you've seen on this show, this is what NXT is going to be like going forward. It's back to, Big E from 2012, or if you want, Bull Dempsey, if you remember that name back in the day, trying to get those people legitimately that have come in the PC that are young guns, 20-somethings coming through, rather than 12 to 15-year vets that are coming in, finally getting their break. This is the idea of why they're doing it. Yeah, I could turn around and say the show of NXT was good, but since it went to 2 hours, people were getting overexposed. I think the interest was dropping because they put it against AEW, who was also doing the same shtick, by the way, of being the indie talent, the indie darlings, and putting them over. And they were beating NXT doing so, presenting it like a full program where you've got 5,000-10,000 people watching it, big time pay-per-views. The only time NXT could compete with that was TakeOver. And since the pandemic hit, NXT's gone in empty performance centers and it's just lost all of its strengths. All of it's what made it NXT. And it got to the point where they went, well, we're losing viewership. It's the lowest. I mean, to be fair, it's higher than Impact. But, compared to AEW, it was doing ratings at the end. That was half of what AEW is doing. Now they've got the CM Punks, they've got the Bryan Danielsons, Adam Coles, and that's another key. You're building these people up, not for Raw and SmackDown, what Vince wants. You're building them up, and of course, these people don't want to do what Vince does on Raw and SmackDown, letting the contracts run out, and your biggest assets go to AEW. So I think that's what it's based around here. We're going back to the starting birth points of what the original NXT was and was supposed to be. Is it a long, drawn-out thing? Of course it is. We're going to look and turn around and say, right, NXT isn't going to be what we saw in 2015 and 14 with like the Packs of this world, the Balors, the Owens, the Nakamura's, Bobby Roode's. That's all gone. And then the Gargano Ciampas. We're going to build it from the ground up. We're starting again where we've got, I don't know if you want, like when Cesaro was there, Jinder Mahal was on there, the Usos, and all these people build themselves up. And hopefully with Vince and Bruce Pritchard and, Kevin Dunn having their say on this, we're not going to get a transition from a big Raw and SmackDown. It's going to be an easy, smooth transition to Raw and SmackDown rather than going, right, this Karrion Kross guy, he's okay, but he needs a gimp mask to make it work. There's something that was missing from these people and they have to change all these things around, change the theme music and over that. So that's what I think is why they're doing it. Now, this NXT, yes, Braun Breaker, it's an awful name, but you know what? He's had a hot start on this show. If he can get over when he goes to Raw and SmackDown originally or eventually, and he's a young age as well, maybe he can be put over big and he will become the WrestleMania main event that they want. Silky, I feel I've talked for a long time. What's your viewpoint on this?
Yeah, the thing with this rebrand is you can look at it in many ways. If you believe the reports that basically NXT was untouchable until the point that they lost the Wednesday Night Wars against AEW, and this is the reason why Vince has now taken it over and Triple H has lost his foot in NXT, like it's no longer his baby. But then you could look at it in a positive way that now Vince is taking over, NXT may become canon and may legitimately become a third brand in Vince's eyes. So for however long they've been saying Charlotte is an 11-time champion or whatever it is, but she's actually a 12-time champ because they don't include her NXT runs. Now that Vince is in charge, we might see this transition period a lot better. And like you said, if the established stars that then go on to Raw and SmackDown, he might not have to change the characters as much now because he's this much more involved in the product. So yes, it could be a plus going forward in a long time. I think it was just the fact that a lot of people will turn around and say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But in Vince's eyes, it was broke because they had to move it to a whole new night because it had lost a ratings war with another rival wrestling company. So in his eyes, yes, it's got to happen. The rebrand has got to happen. I liked the old aesthetic, the black and gold brand. Now it's sort of the Tutti Frutti rainbow brand. I've not got a problem with it. I just, like I said, I'm one of them people that I was in my comfort zone and I didn't want change. I was happy with NXT just how it was. Unfortunately, we don't get a say in what's going to happen with NXT. So it's an unfortunate case of like it and lump it. But like I said, this could be a good thing going forward. We could see, say, better transitions with wrestlers swapping brands between NXT and Raw and SmackDown. So, and vice versa, you could get more main event rosters characters going back to NXT like Mandy Rose has. So it's a wait and see, unfortunately, with NXT at the minute.
Yeah, it's a long game rather than a short game. And that's the thing. We enjoyed the short game of what we got, but it wasn't getting the long-term goals. You know, we needed to find a way to say, right, okay, it's great to see what's going on with Cameron Grimes and superstars like that, but does Vince probably see them as main event talents? No, they're probably going to go and be in the mid-card or eventually in the 24/7 picture. That's what's going to happen. So, you know, with these current changes, these current superstars, maybe we will get those changes. But like you say, it's interesting to see. But, I mean, go on.
My issue is obviously now that he's bringing in all these new young wrestlers, is I tend to fear for a lot of the established stars on there. Like I know it's come out today that Pete Dunne's re-signed for another 3 years, which is fantastic. But I worry for the likes of Johnny because his contract's up in December. And Johnny is one of the foundations of NXT. And then obviously everyone knows he's a small guy, so he's probably not going to make it. So is he going to leave? Throwing the title on Ciampa, I think, was a really good move because Ciampa was one of the ones I worried about because it reportedly said that he never wanted to go to the main roster because he didn't like the travel schedule and all this kind of stuff. He wanted to stay in NXT because it was in one place and it was fine. But then there's the likes of Danny Burch and Oney Lorcan. While a solid tag team, yes, they might be kept on because they are a tag team, but they've not really achieved much story-wise. I mean, them breaking away from Ridge Holland and Pete Dunne in the last couple of weeks, like, to me personally, it felt like this was a preemptive move that we're breaking them up because we're going to release these two. Not that to say that, I don't know, I've not heard anything, but it just worries me that with Vince's idea of bringing through all these new talents, that some of the people that we do actually like that are currently on the brand may be out of a job sooner than we want them to be. Not that there isn't other places for them to go, but like I was happy. I was gutted and excited to see Adam Cole leave because I really loved him in NXT and I would love to have seen him go to Raw and SmackDown. But you can just tell when you go into AEW that he's personally a lot happier. And yes, it might work out for the wrestlers in the long run, but again, it's that comfort zone thing where I'm so used to having these people on Tuesday night entertaining me, and the fact that some of them maybe go in because Vince doesn't see them as future main eventers for WrestleMania, I don't know.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I mean, Jonesy says that Nick Khan killed NXT, and I think we've got a Wrestle Talk viewer here with BC Hunter with Haha Khan. Yeah, I know where you're going with that anyway. But it's a lot of good points. It's going to be interesting to see where it's going to lead to, how it's going to evolve. And it's one of those things that it's a time will tell scenario. We're not going to know at this point. Yes, we were creatures of comfort. I'm like you, I prefer black and gold. That was the logo I liked. I didn't like this latest logo as much, but I liked the old logo. This logo is a bit tie-dye, but do you know what? It's more colourful. It's meant to be more open to bring other full audiences. It's supposed to be like it's meant to be more inviting to the eye, I think. Rather than getting your demographics in, they want younger audience watching. They want the kids to watch. They want the families to watch. This is their way they're thinking they're doing it. And, of course, with that NXT arena as well. So there's lots of different things in there. And we've got a load of comments flying in. I don't want to get too far behind. So let's go into further questions we've got. And another one from Jonesy. So we'll do them in order still because I don't want to lose track of them either. What was the purpose of Kyle O'Reilly beating Adam Cole? Well, I mean, it's still good for him that he beat Adam Cole. It's just the case of he's not got the championship match here, but perhaps like we said, he's got attacked by Pete Dunne, Ridge Holland. He's not ready for the championship just yet, in my opinion. So maybe this is another feud he needs to go through first.
I think when they broke Undisputed Era up, Kyle O'Reilly lost a lot of his babyface momentum that he had, and when the UE broke up, I kind of I was lost. I wasn't particularly interested in Kyle O'Reilly as a character because I couldn't connect with it. Like Undisputed Era, babyface, I could connect with him. New Kyle O'Reilly, while he's still a decent wrestler and he's got great entrance music and all this kind of stuff. Like I said, I think a lot of his babyface heat has just disappeared, and this is why he's been removed from that main event title scene. Because I initially always thought he would be the one to take the title off of Adam Cole, but it never happened.
No, I think it's one of them things, isn't it? We'll have to wait and see what's going to lead to with Kyle O'Reilly. I think his journey's still a long journey. I think he remains in NXT for now because I think that he's not ready. He's not ready, but I don't think he would be pushed on Raw or SmackDown. I think he would get lost in the shuffle. He's still got stuff to do in NXT. And I think a feud with Pete Dunne, that seems like it could be exciting nonetheless. But yeah, it looks like he's got a while to go with the championship run. But Jonesy also does go on to say that Von Wagner sounds like a demented artist who could draw portraits. Maybe a tag team with Dexter Lumis?
Exactly. I was just thinking that just before you said that.
BC Hunter says, any chance that Scott and Rick have copyright on the name? Scott isn't exactly popular in WWE right now. And that's a good point. You're making it. It's not just Rick Stein. We've got to think about the Scott as well. Do you reckon there could be that copyright on the name that they can't use it?
It could be, but then I'd more likely believe that it's a WWE want to own the name more than anything else. Whereas it could be 50 of one and half of another. Whereas it could be a copyright issue, but with WWE, I just got a tendency to believe it's all copyrighted and they want to own the name, and they're thinking long term that if he ever leaves, that he hasn't got a name to use on the indies, and he has to establish himself with a brand new name. That's sometimes the case with a lot of superstars they do take on. So I suppose it's not that uncommon, is it? But we do have a couple of newbies in here. Review Geek 3000, thank you for checking out the stream. Did NXT need to rechange? Others may say it looks good, but from my perspective, honestly, the black and gold has been ruined from inside and out. They ripped out the branding down to the logo. I mean, the thing is, they have completely changed what NXT has been over the last years. But of course, remember how it started. And I think that's what they want to go back to. But we sort of touched on that, but I think the big question is, should NXT remain as NXT, and should we have got NXT Evolve, which this appears to feel more like? Evolve would have been better than 2.0, if I'm honest. If they're going to keep calling it 2.0 every week, I just think it's really stupid. NXT Evolve sounds so much better. It rolls. It sounds better like when you say it. But yeah, 2.0. Like I said, when I did my review on Jonesy's channel earlier, I initially titled it "Software Update Needed" because all you've done is make it sound like it's a computer program. So yeah, say it should have been NXT Evolve. As for the branding and stuff, yeah, like I said, we've just touched on it. It's sort of staying in your comfort zone. The aesthetics of the arena it's a really mini Raw and SmackDown arena now. Like they've got rid of the ramp that's level with the apron to the ring and stuff like that. And yeah, it's like I said, it's just going to take some getting used to, unfortunately. I think so. But was you a fan of the change of the CWC? I mean, I wasn't a big fan of the fencing. To be fair, I like the barriers when they first put them. I know there was obviously initially pandemic installed, but I think it gave the arena atmosphere because you would get the crowd banging on those barriers and stuff like that. I used to. To me, it felt like that's what Raw Underground should have been. Like it should have been that dark, and it should have had the plastic barriers to like separate the crowd, like almost as if it's like a blood sport, and you're expecting someone to just smear blood across it and stuff like that. But like I said, I was a fan of the old NXT, so it's just getting used to it. Pretty much, yeah. No, I have to agree with that. I mean, the thing is we both like the old NXT, and as we say, some are going to be accepting, some are not. It's a big change, and we're going to have to see how it does evolve over the next few weeks. I think that's how we're going to get a good idea of what happens with it. But Supersonic X, what are your thoughts on the Charlie doll? So we're going to Raw now. I see it as the final nail in the coffin in the Raw Women's division. We need Oscar back or a call up from NXT. I mean, the thing is, the Charlie doll, let's go into this because what are your thoughts on it initially? I want to get your thoughts on it before I give mine. I don't. It's like beating a dead horse. I don't understand what their point is of getting these dolls across. Like, yes, I can understand Alexa has one, but why are they now? Why does Charlotte have to have one? Why is this going to be is this going to be Alexa's thing every time she gets into a feud now, that she's going to have some variation of a doll of her opponent? So if and when she does win that Raw Women's Championship, say for instance her next challenger is Nia Jax, is she going to have a little Nia Jax doll as well? I really don't understand the creative behind this.
No, I mean, the thing is, I'm going to say that for once, I didn't hate it. And here's my reason why I didn't hate it. The whole idea for it, for me, was based on mind games rather than actually on the hocus pocus supernatural stuff. The doll didn't wink. The doll didn't do anything. It presented simply as a mind game, as this is the doll. This is something you can play with because you won't have that championship. This is as close as you'll be to seeing Charlotte as the champion going forward. That I kind of thought, I can buy it. And the fact is, Charlotte threw the doll in the bin later in the night, almost like Medusa did with the old WWE Women's Championship, if you remember, back to 95. But I mean, the thing is, I don't love it. I don't. People know that I'm not a big fan of the Lily doll and all this doll aspect. But from a creative standpoint, I felt this needed to be done once. And I will say that I do think Charlotte was the right opponent to do it for, because of the fact that Charlotte is someone who presents herself as the opportunity, someone that is completely ego-driven, someone that they perhaps maybe... I don't know. I hope this is where they don't really go into this, but by throwing the doll away, oh, what have you done? It's a mind game. It's not really going to do anything to Charlotte, but the idea, the fact is that Charlotte now may have some self-doubt, because if it does have some stupid powers, I can't believe I'm saying this stuff. I'm a grown man. But you know, that idea of putting doubt going into the pay-per-view. But I mean, the thing is, it is far-fetched. And to be fair, it is something that is more designed for a younger member of the audience rather than not. But I do see how and why they need to do so. But we mentioned about potentially there could be lots of NXT call-ups in the draft now because of so many new faces on NXT. Do you think that could you see coming from NXT's women's division come to
Raw? To be honest with you, there's not the women's division. I don't feel is. Well, I say that they've only got 3 women's tag teams in the NXT, and yet they have a whole tag team division. So, if you're going to be honest, you're going to want the likes of Io Shirai to come up. They're not currently doing anything with her apart from this. Just say she is a tag team champ with Zoe Stark, but I don't feel that was a right move in the first place. I don't think them two should have ever been tag team champions, because all it constantly is Io Shirai just having conflict with her. So I'd like them to take the titles off of them. But then, like I said, I've just said it a minute ago, they've only got 3 tag teams on NXT. But yeah, Io Shirai would definitely, I'd like to see her come up. Ember Moon is a difficult one because she already obviously has been on Raw before, and it was injuries that have set her back. But I think she needs probably another year, I would say, on NXT before she makes the call up. You got your likes of Raquel Gonzalez, but unfortunately, while she's champ, she'll never come up. But even say Zoe Stark, because Zoe Stark, in the short amount of time that I've seen her, I've been really, really impressed with her. And I reckon she could be massive going forward. She could, if she can sort out her ring gear, because I find her ring gear very bland. And obviously, WWE is meant to be a spectacle and it's meant to be a presentation. So if she can sort out her ring gear, I think she'll go far as well.
Yeah, I think she's definitely got the tools there to make it there. Io Shirai, like you say, would be that tag team's not working for me. I'd happy to see that split up, even if it does make one tag team less than NXT. Frankie Monet would be the another one for me, because I think her and Johnny Drip on the same show could be quite interesting. They pulled that match from NXT this week. I wonder if that was potentially a reason why.
Yeah, I completely forgot about it until I was watching a news report from somewhere, and they'd said that it was announced last week, and then it got pulled. So unless it's pushed to next week, which is again, this is a Vince McMahon thing, changing the matches at last minute, because that's not normally an NXT thing either. But like I said, she could be going up. This could be the reason why they've pulled it.
Could be indeed. We'll have to wait and see as it goes too. We're back to Jonesy now. It says, were you surprised we didn't get any shocks in the wedding? This is a great spot for a new group like the Shield of Wrestlers to crash and make an impact. I was surprised that it went through without many issues. What were your thoughts, Silk?
I honestly thought Austin Theory was going to crash the wedding, because he'd obviously been gone for so long. You had Dexter and Johnny building this whole relationship. I honestly thought Austin Theory was going to be the one to crash the wedding and like ruin it all, and then you get some big heel heat for Austin Theory, and like he could be sort of working his way towards a top heel star on NXT, but unfortunately not. Yeah, it's very strange to see a wedding go down without any problems. Mind you, Dexter did have an axe in his pocket, so I didn't think there was reason for it to not go perfectly.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if anyone did put a foot wrong or an arm wrong, you know, he wouldn't have ended well with it for somebody. But no, like you say, I mean, Austin Theory I thought was good. I mean, Mike, who actually does a lot of the Q&As on this channel, actually, especially on the weekend one, suggests the idea of Austin Theory coming in and actually destroying the way, turning on Johnny Gargano, and then that would actually upset everything with that, and that would have been a good cliffhanger kind of ending, because yes, the wedding would have gone ahead, but the way would have been broken up. Perhaps it would have been the lights because of Dexter Lumis and that, and I think that could have been a fun dynamic. But isn't it, I suppose, in a way, a bit refreshing that the wedding went through without a hitch, because everyone said it wasn't going to end well?
Yeah, it shocked me that it was the main event, because I'm not being funny. You've got an NXT Championship match, and it's gone on before a wedding scene. So I think everyone was expecting it to go wrong and end on a cliffhanger. So yeah, I think probably 99% of people were expecting something to happen, and it just didn't happen. But well, there you go. Congratulations to Indy and Dexter, the newly happy married couple, apparently.
Absolutely. We'll cut to the chase, and not Andre Chase either, with our next comment from Jonesy, who says, I just with they thought the decent names, this could help assisting to get them over more mainstream audience. Imagine if Roman Reigns was called Rudy Poo or Paul, for example. Lovely Rock reference there. But I mean, the thing is like you say, if you could have had the Steiner, the Buchanans, I mean, Buchanan doesn't connect with a mainstream audience, even though a lot of people probably do watch the Attitude Era. He wasn't really a name that was memorable, but Steiner, I suppose, would connect. I guess that's probably where it goes. So, yes, I think it does connect with people more if they think, well, this is second generation. But again, it comes down, we don't know with licensing. We don't know if these superstars want that. And we don't know if it's just simply creative themselves. I mean, we turn around and say, you know, it could simply just be a Vince call or a Kevin Dunn call. We don't know. But, I mean, the thing is, end of the day, do you think this will, if they do the right things, they're still going to get over these stars, right?
Yeah, I mean, we always say it about names. Like, not being funny, the amount of times people criticize the name Undisputed Era when they were formed, and now people don't think of it like as a bad name. They think of it as one of the greatest NXT factions, and it's been the same with any name that anyone's ever had. That, like, if as long as they get themselves over, there's nothing to worry about. It just feels like they're taking a page out of Stan Lee's book when it comes to these names, and the first and the last name has to be the same initials, like J. Jonah Jameson from Spider-Man and Peter Parker and all this. It's got to be same first and last initial. But yeah, it's a weird one. Like, from what I gathered, the wrestlers actually had input on their names, and like they'd write down a list of 10 names, and then creative would come back and be like, you can't have that, you can have that, you can have that. I very much doubt that Rick Steiner come out with the name Bron Breakker with 2 Ks. I very, very much doubt that was his choice, that one.
It's true. It's very, very true. It's I don't know what to say really with it all. I mean, the thing is, you make some great points there with the way that they try and present those names. It leads to another fun question from Jones. He says, if Randy Orton had his WWE debut last night, NXT 2.0, what would his name be?
Let's think. So he's Bob Orton's son. So Cowboy Carl. There you go.
There you go. Cowboy Carl. I like it. Carl with a C there. And yeah,
exactly.
Maybe you could do like a Chavo Guerrero and come out with like a Pepe or something like that with just the horse mannequin head or something. So yeah, and you can get over Jonesy like that. Surely that's got to be a winning idea. Let us know in the comments. Randy Sam, he says, you got what's up, you guys? Thank you for checking out the stream, by the way, Randy. What are some opponents you want to see face Bryan Danielson, and what is next for Miro? So first off, Bryan Danielson in AEW, obviously the dream match with Kenny Omega seems like it could be on eventually. We're looking forward to seeing that. But what are some other names you want to see him face in AEW?
I'd like to see another match with Pac. I think that could be a decent, a really, really good match. I'd like to see him take on everyone: Penta, Ray Phoenix, Hangman Page. It's just the list is just doesn't end when it comes to Bryan Danielson. I just want to see him wrestle everyone. If I had to pick a favorite, CM Punk. It's got to be said, really, because it's one of the things you never thought you'd see in the modern days. CM Punk and Bryan Danielson, but that's got to be in there because they're two technically sound wrestlers. I'm trying to think who else has got you can't get bigger than Kenny Omega though. So they've already booked the best match, really. But for me, a dream match, CM Punk. As for Miro, to be fair, he's God's favorite wrestler, so the world is his oyster. So it could be anything for Miro. I got a feeling he may lose that title sooner. That's my only worry with Miro, and I really don't want it to happen because I think he's doing some of his best work ever at the minute in AEW.
Absolutely. If it's not booked next week against Eddie Kingston, then I think he's all right for the time being. But I think that him and Kingston may not be finished just yet. I mean, the thing is it being in that sort of New York next week, obviously it's in New Jersey tonight. That's a good opportunity to really get Eddie Kingston that pop if they want to do so. But with Miro having that championship belt with like the Bulgarian colours, I'm hoping that he does keep it for a time because, like you say, God's favourite champion is doing some of the best work, and some of his one-liners just kill me every week. I absolutely love it. Brian Danielson, I have to agree. Some of those dream matches you mentioned up there, anyone on the roster basically would be great to see. I mean, Daniel Bryan's going to want to work with like the young talent as well, like the Ricky Starks of this world, the Daniel Garcias, people like that. But as well, you got the matches like with the Jungle Boys, Darby Allin's out there. It's going to be fantastic. I'm sure he could make an entertaining match out of Orange Cassidy as well. That could be quite interesting. So there's pretty much anyone and everyone on that roster I want him to face because I just see potential everywhere. It's so exciting to see.
Yeah.
Jonesy asked, who do you see as the next big star on Raw? And I suppose if it's not Big E.
Jackson Riker. There you go. Come on, man. I've said it and I'm sticking by. He's going to be WWE champion within the next 2 years, the way he's being pushed. Well, was being pushed. He's been on main event recently. But yeah, I don't know, because the problem with WWE is always comes down to booking. And this is the biggest problem they have. Like, you could be the best wrestler in the world, but if something like view figures don't go right for you, like this is my big problem with Big E winning the title this week as well, is it's not Big E's fault if the Raw viewership figures are down, which they are. They're actually lower than last week's. It's already come out. But the problem is, when you look at Vince McMahon, even though they put it out there and said he was going to cash in, you can just tell that Vince is automatically thinking Big E isn't the draw that we thought he was going to be. Putting the title on him was the wrong idea because the viewership numbers haven't increased. Yes, it's all in response to AEW, and obviously now the Monday Night Football is starting again over in America, and that's going to be going for the next couple of months. There's like two major reasons why it's down. But Vince will inevitably see it as, right, I've put this title on you and you've not brought me the viewing figures and the numbers that I want in the demo. This was probably a bad mistake. So this is my biggest fear with Big E winning that WWE Championship at the minute.
Let's hope that's not the case, but I do agree with what you're saying there entirely. And of course, some reports said it was of AEW. Some then came out and said it was to do with NFL. I'm more inclined to believe the NFL one, but I mean, it can be both. There's no reason why it can't be. And like you said, those viewing figures were down, but Big E can be that next big star. He's now got the championship. Let's give him an opportunity. I like the idea of him versus Lashley again at Extreme Rules to do a proper match between the two. And from there, hopefully, I mean, we've seen some teasers on Instagram. MVP sitting next to Shelton Benjamin talking some business on an aeroplane. Could the Hurt Business be coming back together against the New Day? That would be fun to see. But to go as a completely different answer as the next big star on Raw is Damian Priest all day long. This guy right now is being booked perfectly on Raw. He picked up a victory over Drew McIntyre clean in the triple threat match. He's probably going to defeat Sheamus again. He is on the build right now to being a contender to win the Royal Rumble next year, in my opinion.
He was on NXT last night for like 30 seconds because he was supposed to be there for the wedding and then never turned up at the end. So I thought that's probably the first time they've booked him badly in the last month. But yeah, no, I'll be honest with you. Like I said, my brain flushes over the roster and you just forget certain names. But yeah, Damian Priest is a good shout. And yeah, you could be right there with the next Rumble winner.
Could certainly be. Omos is another one. They're booking him really, really well. But again, he's kind of perfect at what it's like this NXT 2.0 right now because he is being booked perfectly, but he's not ready. And that's the thing. They need to manage that perfectly. But he's getting over so well on Raw. And, he destroyed 4 guys this week and people loved it. So they're booking those guys the right way. It's just how they're going to do it long term and can they make them into stars? Yeah,
I'll be honest with you. I'm not Omos' biggest fan. Like, yes, I understand that he's a giant and stuff like that, but I've never been a fan. I was never really a Big Show fan. I was never really an Andre fan. I've never really been the big guy fan. So if Omos doesn't do it for me, I can understand why he does it for Vince. But look, at the end of the day, it's going to work out well for Omos because he's going to get pushed massively. So it's going to be good for him. I'm not a fan, but that's all right. Everyone's like entitled to their own opinion. So, but like I said, it's good for Omos because I say he'll get it's good for him to get him further up the card and get him into the main event scene.
Absolutely, yeah. We'll have to see how it's going to develop over the next coming weeks and months. And Justin Taylor with us. Thank you, Justin, for checking out the stream. Says it's up to us. And Bray comment, and Steve Bray comment, and told Big E congrats. And then after that, He said revenge is coming. Highly doubted, but can Bray return in the draft? I'm new here, guys. Well, thank you for checking it out. It's good that you're new here. And like I said, first time watching, please subscribe to the channel as well. Plenty of content coming quite often on the channel. But what do you think then, obviously, with this? Obviously, Bray then congratulating Big E. I personally think he's going to pastures new. What do you feel?
I'd like to think he's going to pastures new, but ever since he got released, I've always had a slight niggle in the back of my head that's turned around and gone, are we being done up like hippers here? Has he actually not been released and this is all just story? I don't think it is, because obviously someone would have inquired about booking Bray Wyatt at some point in the future after his 90 days are up. But could we be sold up the river here? Could WWE have released Bray Wyatt because they never actually used his real name when they released him? They've used Bray Wyatt instead of Wyndham Rotunda. So could he come back in the draft? It's a possibility. I won't lie. It could be the biggest swerve ever if this was true. But like you said, he's probably on to bigger and better things now and going somewhere else.
Yeah. I mean, there's heavy rumors of Impact. I still think he's going to lead the Dark Order in AEW coming on. And there is rumors that it could even be that he's going to get the opportunity to be there sooner rather than later. So let's see if that is a potential where it could be in Rochester, which of course would have been Brody Lee's hometown as well, if that's a possibility. But again, that's in September. So let's see if that's a possibility. We're still not sure at this moment. But elsewhere, Justin has said, I don't care about names or ring gear. SCW, I only care about storylines and characters. That's what matters to me, in my opinion. Surely that should be all that matters.
Yes, but unfortunately, we're not the ones that run the business. Well, unfortunately, it's run by a 75-year-old man that only sees dollar signs. So this is the reason why, like, let's be honest, Becky, like, as much as I love Becky and how big of a star Becky is, Becky got very lucky of her push, because from the fact that, yes, all right, she was meant to be a heel turn against Charlotte and she was meant to be booed. But again, the crowd had won it for so long. But her getting her nose unfortunately broken by Nia Jax, and you get that image of her standing there with her arms out and a broken nose, it's all luck and coincidental with a lot of people. Like, if you think going back as well, if the click hadn't have happened, we probably wouldn't have had Steve Austin win the King of the Ring, and he probably wouldn't have been a bigger star as it is. At the end of the day, unfortunately, it's Vince McMahon, and all he sees is dollar signs. So whatever he's going to do to pull in the most money is what he will do for it, unfortunately. You can tell now that he doesn't really do long-term storybooking. It's all about moments. He doesn't care for anything to last probably longer than a month from pay-per-view to pay-per-view. He's, like I said, this is why we had the Big E cash in on Monday night. There was no build up to it like you would do years ago, where he teased it week in, week out. It's just, there you go, I'm going to do it, and this is what he lives for now. He just wants that viewership numbers, and he wants that money, and that's, at the end of the day, you can't blame him. It's his business, and that's what he's supposed to do. His business is to make money. So unfortunately, as fans, yes, it's what we want. We want storylines, and we want great characters that are relatable to, but it's not what we're going to get, unfortunately.
Yes, have to wait and see. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of that stuff. There's a lot of facts that come there from you, and hopefully, whether it's on Raw, SmackDown, this new NXT, hopefully some of that stuff can be a bit more addressed, and we can evolve long term into things with storylines, characters, or certainly characters to get these moments where we can connect with them more. But yeah, fantastically put over, Steve. There, couldn't have said it better. Jonesy says that he fears for Hit Row and where they'll be in 6 months under Vince and Bruce. Probably a comedy act. Let's hope not. I mean, seriously, these guys have got so much. They feel legit.
Yeah, this one I personally would have to say I think they're pretty safe. I can understand where Jones is coming from. Yes, I initially had them worries as well, but I think then again they are a faction, and we know how WWE feels about factions. But I would with Swerve having that NXT championship, and to be fair, they're quite a crowd favorite for what I believe was supposed to be heels initially. So yeah, I think they'll be fine going forward. But he could be right. This could be a brood length faction, but like 6 months down the line, all 4 of them are broken up and going on their separate ways.
Let's hope not. I think they have strength in numbers. Swerve has really got over. The other people got over. I do believe that the female of the group, I can't remember her name at the top of my head. The second, thank you very much, B-Fab. I do think that still was a bit of time to go in ring. I do feel it was a little bit not there last night, but she needs time. And to be fair, now in this environment, she's going to get that time, and she's going to hone the craft. And this is perfect for these ones to have this exposure, this experience, and this will get her over more in the long term.
Yeah, I mean, the good thing is that obviously she's had these 2 months or so on TV to establish her character now. So now we know her character. Now her sole focus should be focusing on the in-ring and getting better at the in-ring stuff. So then that way she is more of a complete package.
And when she's that complete package, goodness, is she going to go far, because she's fantastic on the character side right now. Jones Hill says he's just angry at the keep calling this NXT 2.0 blatant, disregarding the original good NXT, where Low-Key was forced to carry a barrel around the ring and Derek Bateman to win redemption points. Thank you, Jonesy. It's 3.0. Exactly, yeah. Good old times. Do you remember? Did you remember those times fondly of those old NXTs?
And what the competition version of it, was not a big fan of it. Yeah, it was some terrible stuff. The only good thing I think that come out of that was Daniel Bryan, because obviously Daniel Bryan's whole story arc and that wonderful promo package they run, where it talks about his days in NXT, and they had him against the Miz and stuff. And I think it was the only good thing that come out of that original NXT brand.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Going back to Raw, Supersonic says that the Raw Women's division is dead in the water. Not even Big E cashing in the men's can save Raw. WWE needs to bring back Asuka. I don't care about her booking and creative plans on her character. Well, I mean, Supersonic is a big Asuka fan. I have to say that each and every week, wants Asuka back on TV. It's been a while now since we've seen her. The draft is coming up as well. Do you think we could see Asuka back from the draft?
I probably don't. I probably wouldn't say so. You're probably not going to see her till the draft, and she's probably going to go SmackDown. Like I said, the draft is a good reset point, and you're going to get all brand new stories going forward for the next year. So it's just a bite your tongue moment, and just sit and bite it out and wait for the draft, and it'll all reset, and we can all start again, and hopefully look forward to the next 12 months.
Absolutely. And then we can all get to this point next year where we're sick of it once again.
Yes. Exactly.
Jonesy wants to know where you can buy a Cowboy Carl shirt. We'll set up a website for that for you, Jonesy. Don't worry. We'll have a nice cowboy hat on there and just the name Carl underneath it for you. That'd be a perfect design there. Eric Travis is in the house. He says, how we're doing. Thank you very much, Eric, for checking us out. Do you think AEW or WWE needs Jim Johnson, or they need, or they find, in my opinion? What do you guys think? So I'm guessing with the music there, he's saying, are they fine or do they need Jim Johnson? I used to love Jim Johnson back in the day. Some of the songs I think are fantastic, but some are not so hitting as well. But he used to throw out bangers, didn't he?
Yeah, Jim Johnson's like you look at his portfolio of music that he's created over the years, and it's just endless. When NXT were using CFO $, I thought they were doing some really good stuff. They come out with Keith Lee's original one. Mia Yim's was good. They made the Undisputed Era and all that kind of stuff. And obviously there was a dispute with them. But yeah, I know what you mean. Some of the recent music, although I see Gigi Dolan has got like Marilyn Manson's Sweet Dreams guitar riff as her entrance music now, and I'm pretty sure they've changed Ridge Holland, so they're getting better. But when the initial problem I had with music was when Undisputed Era broke up and you had Adam Cole, the bigger star, but Kyle O'Reilly's got the better music. I was really annoyed by that one. But Jim Johnson, man, if AEW could get him, the problem with AEW is they've got money to splash on real licensing music, so they don't really need Jim Johnson. But yeah, like I said, a big fan of his work, and I would love to have seen him come back.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, maybe one day at some point. I'd love to hear him on a podcast
Hall of Fame.
somewhere.
Hall of Fame.
A Hall of Fame would be great.
He should have been one of the initial Hall of Fame entries because of like everyone knows who Jim Johnson is.
Absolutely. The stuff he's done is legendary. So that, and I'd love to hear some stories about him as well with some of the songs, how they came together. It would be amazing on a podcast somewhere. If someone's watching this podcast, get him on there. We'd love to see it. Jonesy also asked, who would you have thought Dexter Lumis would have got allowed a pop for talking? This storyline has been the best thing for him, along with Gargano. I have to agree. I think that Lumis has definitely got more over with this, and I think Gargano as well has helped it with his great work. I actually love the video package before the wedding. I thought it was really well put together.
Yeah, I'll be fair. When I saw Lewis initially and he just looked like a serial killer, I'm like, I'm sold on this guy. I will back this guy 100%. All I hope is that I do are the only two words that I ever hear this guy say now until a decent storyline comes around for him to start speaking every week. Because I said this whenever I did my 5 superstars that shouldn't go up to main roster. And Loomis was one of them because I said the first thing Vince will make him do is talk. And here we are, NXT 2.0, and the first thing Loomis does is he starts talking. And I was like, look, we'll get to next week. If he's talking properly all the time now, that's it. I'm done now. I'm finished with Loomis. But I like him just the way he is.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes less is more, so let's not make him speak too much. I think that he made a big impact with just I Do. I don't think he needs to say anything for the time being. So maybe his next word should be, "I want a divorce." Who knows?
It's a good shout.
Just a fool. But best in the world, 1989 in the house of business. Ciampa will lose to Rick Steiner's son for the NXT World Championship. You heard it here. That's a prediction there for you. It may be a spoiler. Who knows? What do you reckon?
It could be. It very well could be. It's not very often that, depending on how they build it, if, say, for instance, Bron is his next challenger, it's not very often NXT have their champions. I think Johnny's the only one to have ever lost the NXT Championship in his first title defense. So it's not very often they do it. So it could happen. BITW 1989 could very well be right there, and Bron Breakker could be winning the NXT Championship.
He definitely seems like the most equipped at this point, in my opinion, even though Von Wagner does seem to be someone that Vince is very high on from his performance he had on SmackDown, back in the day. He lost to Sheamus, I believe, April 2020. And Vince was very high on that performance back then. So those two look to be the ones that Vince is high on. Obviously, he was put in the Fatal 4-Way match on NXT this week. Of course, that's maybe a small connection of it. But Steiner's son looks good. I don't think Ciampa's going to be a long-term champion.
No. I unfortunately, as much as I love Ciampa to be the long-term champ, and the fact that he went 908 days, I think, between I thought was criminal. And yeah, it's just unfortunate because I'm a massive Ciampa fan. I would love to have seen him have another good run, because he initially obviously got injured and why he had to give up the title in the first place. So he never technically lost the championship. So I don't know. Maybe if they can do something with that, it would be nice. But yeah, unfortunately, he's probably not going to be maybe a next takeover. We'll see him lose it.
Could be. I mean, the thing is, I want the champion to have more of a longer redemption story. I mean, not in length for days, but definitely more in time of a storyline. I would have liked to have seen. It feels a bit rushed, but of course, you can't blame it when they've taken the title off Joe under the circumstances. And Ciampa does feel like a natural fit to take over that babyface role. But Best in the World does love to give us some mouth-watering dream match scenarios. Keith Lee heel turn against the entire New Day Big E babyface. Would you be up for a Big E versus Keith Lee match down the line?
Yeah, man. Two big muscly guys going at it in the ring. That'd be great. That's got me excited to watch Raw now, man. If that was a story going forward, I'd actually want to watch Raw every Monday just to watch that storyline. That's actually really good booking. It's just unfortunate we probably won't get it. I mean, the fact that we had the story that Adam Cole was going to be Keith Lee's manager, I was just like, it makes me worried what Raw are doing going forward.
I do worry why Pete Dunne's re-signed. But we'll have to wait and see what's going to happen with it down the line. But Best in the World, we might not get it on Raw, but on your channel, on your sort of videos that you do, maybe we'll get it on there. There's a little plug for you.
Very well.
He also goes on to say that what if Woods turns on Kofi and E, and the whole jealousy of Big E and Kofi being former WWE champions? Do you think it would work? Woods wins King of the Ring. I personally love this idea of a storyline when I read this earlier on, and I was thinking to myself yesterday, with Big E doing it, Kofi's done it, it's now time for a Woods push, surely.
Yeah, like I said, King of the Ring could be the way to go with him. The turn, as much as it may sound intriguing, I very much doubt it will happen, because those three are like brothers, and you could tell that in Big E's backstage interview after he won the championship Monday, and he was he almost brought himself to tears, like talking about the three of them and everything they've been through, like starting New Day, and how that they almost didn't get to where they are, and how he's happy it's taken him so long to win the WWE Championship. I very much doubt it will happen, but it could be an interesting dynamic, especially with King of the Ring coming up.
It'll be interesting. And Woods has wanted the King of the Ring for so long, damn it. Let's give it to him, surely. We'd love to see it.
Yeah.
Would love to see it. BC Under says that definitely would be down for the Woods turn. Great suggestion. He could pull off heel. Kofi couldn't. Interesting thought there. I think Woods would do a great job of it. Do you think Kofi could pull off being a heel?
Well, he's been a heel before, and initially it was kind of a cringy heel, obviously, when New Day started out. But I think what they're going for here is the evil, maniacal heel kind of perspective. Which, I don't think Kofi could pull it off. But then again, I could be wrong. I just don't know what Kofi's character range is like. He very well could be a banging heel, and he could be one of the best. But I very much doubt it. I think Woods would be the better one to do it with.
judging what we're seeing with Up, Up, Down, Down with Woods' evil laugh, I'm definitely down for the boot Woods of the two. I think that certainly would be good. But Best of the World also says that Bray Wyatt is turning up at Brodley's hometown at September 30th. That is a prediction there once again. Potentially a spoiler. Have to wait and see if it will go down. We did speak about it potentially earlier on in this video. We'll have to wait and see if it will go down or not. But Elijah Washington is in the house. Elijah, thank you for checking out the video. He says, do you think AEW's women's division is getting more better because Ruby Soho? What do you think? And I think that's for Steve's there, I imagine. Steve, what do you reckon?
It is. This is probably AEW's biggest flaw at the minute is their women's division, because they don't have that many top women's stars. Don't get me wrong, all the women are great, but if you look at established stars, they essentially have 4 maybe. Britt Baker, Ruby Soho, Chris Statlander's starting to get there now. Nyla Rose again is up there. They have a very small sort of top of the card women's division, but hopefully with Ruby Soho now coming in, that they can start turning this around so they can start pushing more people up. Anna Jay, for instance, I love Anna Jay. I think she could do really well. Ty Conti, now that she's in AEW, is starting to do really well as well. So they've got the potential there to have one of the best women's divisions in professional wrestling. Just at the minute, I think NXT still got the best women's division because of the variety of talent that's there, with your likes of Raquel, Io, Candice LeRae, Indy. That like it's all round a great women's division. But AEW definitely has the potential to be a top women's division.
Absolutely, it's definitely getting better. The emphasis has been put on this year has been incredible, and like you mentioned, a couple of other names that Thunder Rosa now full-time member.
Exactly. Sorry, apologies. Yeah.
No, and she definitely has got there. Jade Cargill, there's definitely a lot of potential in her with what we see. She's still a bit green at the moment, but definitely they're doing the right steps to get her moving forward. Hikaru Shida as well, the long championship reign also. So they do have a stacked women's division, but it's just a case of finding the way to push them, to get them elevated further up the card. It's definitely improving, Elijah. Stick with it, because honestly, good things are still to come, and I reckon it's only going to get better. It's kind of like almost what we're seeing with NXT. They've put time into it. We've had to be patient with it, but we're starting to see those results.
Yeah. Exactly. It was the only thing that was kind of criticized when the show was initially first started, was that the women weren't getting a big enough spotlight on them. But now, especially with Britt being the champion, it's the right thing to do now, with her being your top champ, going up against Ruby Soho as well. This is just going to start elevating that division a lot more.
Absolutely, indeed, absolutely.
Sorry, Steve. Just to bring it back to that comment before about Bray Wyatt, his release clause doesn't apparently expire until the 29th of October.
That is true. There has been rumors going around suggesting that maybe if there's been any hiccups in the contract, or if there could be some negotiation.
Right. Yeah, so I had to double check it, because I was a bit conflicted with that one.
Oh, but the thing is with it is that no one really knows, and the idea is that if he can get there earlier, then he will do.
He might have asked
going around.
Might have asked to be released earlier from his contract. Yeah, but it's a possibility. That's the only thing. That's the only reason why I was like, I'm sure the dates don't go along there, but okay, yeah, cool.
It could work, and if not, I mean, he would be perfectly in time for a Halloween version of Rampage. That would be interesting to see.
That'd be amazing.
So, that would be pretty cool, especially if it was Dark Order he was involved with. But Best of the World also says, at the end of this year, NXT will look like this. NXT champion Bronson Reichsteiner, just about say it there. That's just, Bron Breakker, now I can say now, can't I? And NXT tag team champions, the Creed brothers, people over 205 and not little people. I mean, personally for me, the Creed brothers really did impress me, because they kind of look like this generic tag team, but I think under Diamond Mine, that kind of works as part of their strength and their character.
It's to be honest with you, it's giving me the only reason to watch Diamond Mine, because when they initially debuted, it kind of all fell flat. The fact that their initial top target is the NXT Cruiserweight Championship and not the NXT Championship, I think sort of really killed this. But now that they've brought in the likes of the Creed brothers, who are fantastic in ring and could go on to be one of the best tag teams in the world at the minute, because the hype is already behind them and they're getting pushed majorly already. I know they was only facing jobbers this week, but they've got the potential to go all the way now.
They certainly do. And BC Hunter's come out to say here that he has to head out. Great job, guys. Thanks for asking my questions. Thank you for checking out the stream, BC Hunter. I hope you've enjoyed yourself. And always welcome on for any live Q&A that we do. Best of Wilson says, Lewis and Gargano as tag team champions. And there's a lot of lulls there as well. Would you like to see that as a potential storyline direction? Of course, WWE's version of comedy in NXT?
To be fair, I would just like Dexter to be involved in anything at the minute, because I say he's one of my favorite characters. For someone that doesn't say anything, I would love him to just to be involved. I would rather a sort of a triple threat storyline between Austin as the best friend / son, and now with Dexter coming in. I would rather see that than them as a tag team champion story. That's what I would personally want to see. I'd be more interested in that.
Be a lot of fun as well. I mean, I think there's so many different dynamics you could do with this, that there definitely is a lot of potential whichever direction they decide to go. But I think definitely as a team, I think is the right way as a storyline booking going forward, because then you can start putting some cracks in further down the line, or you can really transition Gargano and Austin Theory to become proper baby faces going forward. Or would they want to try and convince Numis to show heel tactics as well? And with him not talking, does he show the axe? Does he kind of conflict, thumb up, thumb down? There's lots of different ways they can go with this.
Yeah. Did you know what? When you just mentioned, literally brought in that thumbs up, thumbs down, I instantly got flashbacks to Batista doing it against Triple H. And I was like, It's such an actual, for not saying anything, it's such a powerful thing to do where you can just simply put your thumb up and thumb down. It could actually be a really unique dynamic for him to use.
Absolutely. The fun movement is here, ladies and gentlemen, quite literally. Supersonic here says, what are your thoughts on Mandy Rose's new look? She looks like a modern version of Nikki Bella. I thought that the hair change looked pretty good. I didn't quite understand why.
Yeah, it was the new look's fine. It's just I couldn't understand why they sold a face injury and then she comes back the next week with dyed hair. Like I said, when she noted the first sort of skit she's in on NXT, she's got a back to camera like initially how Jack Nicholson's Joker was in the original Batman. And it was like, you don't know what she's going to look like, whether she's going to be scarred or disfigured or anything. She just comes out brown hair. I didn't understand the point of it. Like I said, I'm fine with it. I love Mandy Rose. I think she should have been a bigger deal when she was on main roster. But yeah, like I said, it's just, unfortunately, I just hope she gets an NXT championship push now and deserves to be in that main event scene where she should be.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Mandy Rose as well then. Do you know what? I feel, though, with her coming back to NXT in this sort of environment, though, I think it's really going to benefit her because she seems kind of more seasoned than when she was there the last time. And she had a really impressive finish to her match this week. And that was probably the most popular match on the entire card with a lot of the crowd chanting, "This is awesome." I think it was in the Fatal 4-Way was chanting that as well. But definitely was one of the more popular matches on the show. Do you think Mandy Rose could be a future NXT Women's Champion?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I would love nothing more than to see Mandy Rose win that. Just as much as I would love to have seen Dakota Kai beat Raquel, now that Mandy's back and she's in this division, if at some point in the future she's not made NXT champion, if in this next entire stint in NXT at one point she's not NXT champion, I will be very disappointed with it because she should be. She was doing fantastic character work on main roster. The whole tag team with Sonya Deville she was doing was fantastic. So as I say, she's just a fantastic wrestler. I would love nothing more than see her wear some championship gold.
Yeah. Interesting indeed. Interesting. Brock Randolph is in the house. He says, I'm happy Dexter Lewis and India Hartwell get married. Well, we are as well. It's good to see there's some happy married people in the house. It's what we like to see. So congratulations to them. And Best in the World also does say that the New Day have said if WWE do split them up, they will walk. There you go. that's. I mean, they have power as well. They literally, not just the power of positivity. New Day have the power. I mean, Xavier Woods makes a lot of money for that company with Up, Up, Down, Down.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I think the initial plan is they have still yet to be the best tag team champions. Like they're supposed to. Apparently, the long run is for them to overtake. Is it the Dudley Boys that have got the most tag team title runs in WWE? Yeah, I think it's like 11 or something. Yeah, and I think the initial plan is for them to be the first team to break that record.
It could certainly happen. Well, I think Kofi and Xavier will be flying that flag in the meantime, but definitely be interested to see how it will go down. But we've got another question. It says, if I was Jim, in my opinion, I would have booked AJ and Omos and repackaged T-Bar as Dijak and keep Omos' name, in my opinion. That looks like a faction. Yeah, I mean, I kind of like the dynamic they had this week with AJ Styles with, of course, Omos. Let's go with T-Bar Mace just for what it is for now. But yeah, if they were like Dijakovic and Dio Madden, I think that's an impressive looking stable. What do you reckon? Yeah,
it's that whole sort of three big hench guys and the one guy in charge is really small kind of look. It is it's a unique look and a unique aesthetic. And I wish T-Bar and Mace would get a bigger push because there's a tag team, they're solid. They just need to lose the sort of gimp look, unfortunately, and just not make it so like gimp looking, like so reflective plastic, and just wear like matte clothing or something. But I really wish they would get a bigger push. As for AJ and Omos, I'll be honest with you, I've not been the biggest fan of them as a tag team. I would rather them be two separate stars, but obviously AJ's been brought in to build up Omos, which is fine. I can deal with that. If you put them in a faction, I'd be more of a fan of that than them as a tag team, because I haven't got to watch AJ essentially be the one that gets his ass handed to him before Omos has to come in and win the match. Because let's be honest with you, AJ is still one of the best wrestlers in the world, and I don't think he should be treated in that way when he's in a tag team.
No, I kind of agree with you. I think the tag team's kind of run its course. I think AJ needs to either abuse that relationship with Omos going forward or recruit more. But I've got a feeling that T-Bar and Mace will be going to SmackDown in the draft. We mentioned there about a potential push, maybe. They've got a Powers of Pain look from the 80s, but I reckon that that could be their future direction. I can see them going to SmackDown in a couple of weeks' time. We'll have to wait and see if that prediction does come through and true. Elijah says that I don't know if you've had this feeling, but man, MJF is gold. I'm happy Brian Pillman Jr. gets a feud and maybe win, but highly doubt it. Of course, those two are booked for a match, I believe, which is going to be at the Stadium show next week. Last week, I mean, MJF, he did enough pull some punches, didn't he?
It's what MJF does. Like I said, he's just like one of them characters that just, he will open his mouth and you just really don't know what he's going to say. He's so good on the mic. I can't think of someone who is that brutal on a mic and that good at the same time. I mean, I know Jericho used to be like that in the WWF days, but even he wasn't as brutal as what MJF is. He is so good. And the fact that he's lost officially one match in AEW, but it's technically two, just shows what they think of him. And I can't wait for the day that he wins that AEW championship, because my God, he will be the most hated person in professional wrestling, because every week he's just going to come out and rub it in your face, and he's just going to sit there and laugh while you sit there and boo him.
Absolutely. They know how to make you hate him, and I think there's still stuff they can do to make you hate him more. I'd love to see him to be the guy retire Sting. I think that definitely would get a lot of heel heat, and people would hate him forever for that. People just seem to love Sting. He doesn't age in people's eyes, you know. People hate that Goldberg comes back. They don't hate that Sting comes back, maybe because it's the way they're booked and used.
It's because he's got a face paint on and you can't see how old he's aged in the ring. That's what it is. Probably
something to do with that. You're probably not wrong. But as for Brian Pillman Jr., it's great to see him in this. I love the fact he got a Rampage main event as well in his hometown of Cincinnati. John Moxley as well coming to the aid there at the end with the Acclaimed. Big things. It looks like they're going to try and push the Stars of Tomorrow once again with Brian Pillman Jr.
This is why I love AEW, because I don't know if did you see any of the press stuff from All Out, like with Adam Cole and Bryan Danielson and Ruby Soho?
Some bits and bobs.
When I saw Adam Cole come out and you see him sit next to Tony Khan looks at Adam Cole like all his Christmases has come at once. He looks at him like this is the greatest present he's ever got. And I genuinely felt for a minute that this guy is a guy that genuinely cares about these wrestlers and he cares about these stories. And like you said, the fact that he's got Brian Pillman having a hometown match, but like he's not the biggest name in the brand, but he's willing to give him a main event match in his hometown, just shows how much of it, like how much he loves professional wrestling. And I say, why not you just watch him with Adam Cole? If you get a chance, go back and watch him, and he just looks at him like he's the greatest gift he's ever got. And it made me feel more empowered to watch AEW, because I know that Tony Khan is behind this brand 100%, and he will do whatever he needs to do to make every single wrestler on that brand as big as they can be.
Absolutely. You've said that perfectly. I can't add anything more. Perfect. Supersonic X, do you think that the Charlotte Doll might be a part of a storyline? Charlotte Flair stated that she doesn't need friends or tag team partner. Remember when Charlotte teamed up with friends with Oscar? We do remember. That was late last year and the start of this year. That feels, do you know what, though? That feels years ago already, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, sorry. I just had a crazy thought. I thought when you was talking about tag teaming, I thought we was going to get Alexa and the Doll versus Charlotte and the Doll. It instantly popped in my head, and I was like, oh, no. Oh, yeah, no, sorry, back to the original question. Yeah, it does feel like a while ago, yeah. So it's just, sorry, I'm still crying with laughter from that thought. It's such a bad movie.
We shouldn't give them ideas.
I know, sorry, yeah, delete it, please. Delete this from history books. I never said it. But yeah, it does feel like it was a long time ago. It does really feel like it was ages ago. Like I said, I think it's because everyone misses Asuka, because she's so good, and like, her character work is great, and in ring she's great. So yeah, the absence makes the heart grow fonder. So yeah, it does feel like it's been a while.
It does indeed. There. Let's hope it's not part of the storyline. I think it can be used a bit more, but we'll try not to be so creative on how. If you don't mind, Supersonic, we'll let the experts do it on Monday Night Raw creative team, I think. But Bobby Fish is signed with MLW and joins Kantra him and Simon Gotch as MLW World Tag Team Champions. I'm not a big MLW watcher. Are you yourself, Steve?
I'm not, but I am a big fan of the Uso. Sorry, apologies. I forget his name. I'm terrible with names. He's one of the Uso cousins. Fatu. Jacob Fatu. There we go. Yes. Love Jacob Fatu. I think he's great. I don't get enough time to watch MLW. I know I can get it on. It's on Sky TV over here in the UK, so we can actually watch it. I just, do you know what it is? I think it's because it's on a delay, and I can easily just get the results more than I can just watching it, because I think it's about 3 or 4 days behind before we initially get it over here. But yeah, Jacob Fatu, massive fan. I actually really like Simon Gotch, and with Bobby Fish joining him, that's massive. That's gonna be great going forward.
That'll be a very interesting tag team. Every week when I hear something about MLW, it makes me want to try and find time to go and watch it, because it sounds like there's some good stuff going on down there. So I will try and make a conscious effort to do so. There's
a lot of brand loyalty with MLW. Like you don't tend to find a lot of people that will leave it. Like a lot, like say Jacob Fatu's been there for years, and he loves that brand, and he's got no reason to leave it. Which is, like I said, it's a surprise, because Jacob Fatu could do massively in AEW or NXT, for example, but yeah, he's just stuck with MLW the whole time. So there is a lot of brand loyalty with that show.
Absolutely, indeed. There, Michael in House of This says, who do you think is winning at the match Extreme Rules, Reigns or Demon Balor? Key question, this one.
I would love to say Balor. As much as I would love to say Balor, I just think it's going to be Reigns. I think they're going to have the Demon lose, and I think it's either going to be one of two things. It'll be the Balor wins with interference from Brock, or Roman retains. As much as I would love to see Balor win, I think it's going to be Roman.
I believe Roman's winning at this point. Obviously, we've still got time to go and see how the storyline develops. I think that there will be a stipulation added, and it will become an Extreme Rules match, because we've not got one yet at Extreme Rules. I don't see the point in the pay-per-view currently, but we've got some good matches on the show, though. But the only way Balor wins this is if Reigns is going to Raw.
Yeah. Because then obviously you can go on for that championship, and they can keep Brock on there, because at the minute SmackDown's got all the talent, and this is what the networks are fighting over, is the fact that Fox has got a stacked roster over there on SmackDown. Like I said, that could be what's happening. Like you said with the pay-per-view and even the stipulation, it's Extreme Rules. I'm sorry, every match should be an Extreme Rules match. Just the whole point of having the name. I don't see the point in having. It's like having having TLC pay per view, and then you've got one TLC match. So it's not really a pay per view named Tables, Ladders, and Chairs, then, is it? But yeah,
very true indeed. Let's hope there are some stipulations added to matches in this coming week, because I think we certainly do need them for the pay per view. Eli Wax with us says, I don't like the Charlie doll, but unless they make it interesting with Charlotte versus Alexa, and I'll have Alexa win and write off Charlotte to be in a new gimmick, Psychopath Charlotte, and Charlotte lose her with some kind of similar to like Terra, aka Victoria, which of course do remember Victoria back in the day. She was pretty cool during the Ruthless Aggression era, and of course Terra as well in Impact Wrestling. How do you feel about this then? Would you be a fan of Alexa winning, and would you like to see Charlotte be in a new sort of gimmick, almost under Alexa's spell?
The Psychopath idea is really good. When I just read that, my instant image was Laurel Van Ness. Charlotte as Laurel Van Ness. Obviously not the crazed bride that's been stood at the altar and she's a psychopath, but along them kind of lines. I think it could be really interesting to see from Charlotte, because all we've ever seen her really is either an overbragged heel or just a baby face. We've never really had sort of a unique character dynamic to her. She's only ever done sort of the two things. She's either been, say, the top heel, and it's just bragged that says, I'm a 10-time, 11-time champion, or she's just been sort of the generic baby face. So I would like to see a unique character dynamic for Charlotte.
Would be interesting to see if she would go down to a character change at some point. I do like Charlotte as she is, though. So for me at the moment, I personally wouldn't change it. But the thing is, at some point, it would be interesting to see. But yeah, I don't know how it's going to go down with these two. It's one of the matches I'm really torn with when it comes to Extreme Rules and to make a prediction. I suppose that's more enticing for people to check out the predictions video, and it does drop at some point next week. There we go. There's a nice little cliffhanger for everybody there. Martin Carrera is in the house with us. Martin, how are you doing? Thank you for checking out the stream. He says, didn't NXT feel more different, more non-edgy? Also, the show looks and feels different to NXT used to be. What implication would you guys want to see? Interesting question there. Of course, we've touched on NXT quite a lot during the stream already, but what would you like to see going forward? And do you agree that it's definitely a lot less edgy?
One, lose the 2.0 for starters, because it really doesn't need that. To be more edgy, I don't know. It's really hard to say, because you sort of have this look of the black and gold brand and what it was, and I think we have to kind of wait for the new look to sort of establish itself and what it's going to be going forward. But there was even little things like Hit Row's studio that they've done like video packages in before. It was all dark and dingy. Now they're in this white lit up room, and it's. I think it's just having to unfortunately wait and see how this one plays out before you can sort of see and go, this is what I want here and this is what I want there. But for me, the first thing is lose the 2.0.
Yeah, as we said there, we prefer NXT Evolve, I think would be a good idea for it. But one thing I want to see going forward goes on your next comment, actually, says that I'm really feeling the new NXT that veterans will be put on the back burner and let the new generation create itself. That's something I do want to see long term. Obviously, we're not going to see it just yet because not all of them are ready. Some are going to be pushed quicker than others. We see that we're Bron Breakker. Obviously, we want Rex Steiner, if you will. But what I would say is that I want them eventually to take over NXT. I want in the draft superstars that are going to be put on the back burner to be moved to Raw and SmackDown, fill those rosters up further so we feel like we've got a complete package, whether it's Legado del Fantasma, Cameron Grimes, those sort of superstars, put them up because they can do something with Raw and SmackDown, make them more and more entertaining. And with this NXT, it can become what NXT was back in 2012. And I think that could be quite interesting, like the FCW. We sort of said back then, like, you know, the Roman Reigns, we didn't know who he was. The Big E, we didn't know who he was. Back when with FCW, Sheamus and Drew McIntyre, people like that coming through the system. And eventually they've gone on to be world champions. We could be seeing here a crop that may not be ready right now, but in 10 years' time, we could be seeing a future WrestleMania main event in front of our very eyes for the first time this week.
Yeah, exactly. You say Bron Breakker 100% is probably the one at the minute that everyone's going to say, yeah, he's the future main eventer. But I love what you said. Yeah, I'd love to see Cameron Grimes go up because for me, Grimes is established now. That like he has his place on the roster. Like he's one of them guys that will be a multi-time US champion, a multi-time Intercontinental champion, and maybe a one-time world champion at some point in the future. Like how some people get there, like a Jeff Hardy, for instance, and will win that one WWE championship that they've deserved for putting in their work all over the years. But yeah, Grimes, an established character, should go up. Legado del Fantasma, would love nothing more for them to go up. I would love to see them push to the moon and back because I think they're great. But I like your idea. Yeah, keep a couple of them, sort of the likes of Tommaso Ciampa, the veterans. We need another Cassius Ono. We need a gatekeeper to the main roster established again, and that could be Tommaso Ciampa. We need someone who they'll put into a feud just before someone's going to get called up, and obviously Ciampa will take the loss, put that person over, then they get moved over to Raw or SmackDown, and then they can go from there.
Absolutely. That's a perfect point you make there, because at that point you turn around and say, well, we see all these superstars against one another. How do we know they're really over? We give them that established star like Tommaso Ciampa to get that victory, to get that 20-minute match, and it becomes, if it's a classic, for example, they're ready. That's it. Yeah. It's time to move them to that next level. So, no, certainly could be a great idea. We'll have to wait and see how it will play out. But I just hope that if Cameron Grimes does go up, he doesn't buy the 24/7 championship. It's the wrong one. Ted didn't do that.
No.
But best in the world, why are WWE bringing in the Demon to face Roman? I feel like the Demon character shouldn't be losing, but that's just me. Just like the Fiend shouldn't be losing. Completely agree. But obviously they want to make this match more marketable, as we said earlier on. It's all about those moments, isn't it?
I'll be honest with you, the way Finn's character is portraying, I don't actually want to see the Demon at all, to be fair. I like heel Balor, and I would rather just see heel Balor rather than the Demon. Like I said to you, it's really going to be hard to call because the Demon's unbeaten, and it's the next level of Balor. So it's going to be really hard to call that week. And I would personally just rather have had Finn Balor in the match.
Yeah, I personally feel the same as well with Finn Balor. But as I said earlier, and I think it's all about this marketing idea. But I think how does it become marketable if the Balor, this Demon character loses? I think it loses a bit of its mystique. So
Exactly.
we've not seen it for a long time. It's been a good few
You
years since we've seen it.
you could have the Demon essentially doing an Undertaker kind of streak and going 20, 30 matches being undefeated, and then like you could have someone who you need to push to be that next top star be the one to beat the Demon and push them up the card. It's just probably not going to happen. You're probably going to see him lose to Roman Reigns.
Absolutely, indeed. There, we'll have to see how it's going to play out, but I agree with you. I think it's likely it's going to be a win for Roman. Don Mills is in the house. Says, "What's happening, guys? Man, Jonesy's rant was something else today." Yeah, I mean, Jonesy put his rant up, and you've got your review up as well. Of course, Jonesy Chats Wrestling. It is the link in the description. Make sure to check out after this video. We've still got plenty of questions to go on this one, but yeah, we've got plenty to get through as well, including this idea of best in the world. Dijakovic against Damian Priest US title match. Yes, please. If you can book Dijakovic right, which I know he can on his channel, if WWE can book that right, that's a match that would be definitely one I'd love to see.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to see Keith Lee versus Dijak again as well, because they were having some proper bangers in NXT. But it's got money written all over it. But with Dijak, you need to book him correctly because he's not the greatest on mic. So you need to be careful of how you step with that one.
Yeah, I guess so. At the moment, so far, definitely not the best on mic. But yeah, careful your step. If you can book it well, definitely would be a great match to see. Jamie Holmes is in the house. He said, "Did you hear fans booing Dexter Lumis? Showed his axe to the guests at the wedding, threatening to axe them if they objected. Is that a sign of fans souring on Dexter Lumis?" Mate, I don't think they were souring on him particularly. What do you find?
I noticed there was one guy in the crowd last night that was doing my brain in. What was it? During the wedding, he was the bit where they asked, "Oh, who's giving the bride away?" And there was this one guy, and he just goes, "No one," out of nowhere, and I'm like, "Shut up, you fool!" And you could tell that the wrestlers in the ring were actually getting annoyed, and I presume security must have said something because you don't hear from him again. But I presume it was the same guy that during the B-Fab match, the duration, someone is just constantly going, "Hero," the whole length of the match, and I was like, "Oh my god, this guy needs to just do one, man." It was probably that guy you're talking about in this question. It was probably that one guy that irritated me last night.
Maybe Dexter Lumis should have showed off his axe that direction.
Yeah,
Maybe that
should have thrown it at him.
Eli Waxman was there, says, "Steve, I didn't ask you this, but would you like to be a wrestler because you can make a punk rocker type of dude and you've got the look and the voice is very smooth? I will repackage you as a darker emo." I mean, Steve, would you be down for this?
I'm the Kevin Owens, me. I'm not a body guy. I'm a Kevin Owens guy. I need the shorts and the t-shirt. But man, I've never personally tried it. I used to like wrestle with my brother when I was younger. My brother used to love getting me in a sharpshooter every night, and it was always my mission to get out of it. And to this day, I'm still not tapped out to the sharpshooter from my brother. But it's just one of them things, unfortunately, where I live, it was there was no schools or anything. So unfortunately, we were just stuck to the initial dream of being a professional wrestler.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, where we're from, we didn't have that. It's a lot more available these days for people to have that training to get that breakthrough. If you went into the business, there's so many local independent sort of shows that you can try out and stuff like that. But I mean, for me, I've always been interested more on a creative standpoint than actually getting in the ring standpoint. I'm more of a watcher, more of an analyst rather than actually doing the fitness stuff, as they say. But hey ho. Best in the world 2023. AJ Styles and Finn Balor walk out of WWE and join AEW, just like the outsiders remember this comment for years to come. What do you reckon?
At some point, I want to see a fatal four-way between Kenny, Jay White, Finn Balor, and AJ Styles. I want the four leaders of the Bullet Club to eventually have a match. It won't happen until AJ leaves WWE. But the problem is when his in-ring contract is up, I presume they will sign into some sort of Legends contract, which will stop him from happening. But it's a dream. Balor, yes, I can also see him walking out. Ever since he got injured from winning the Universal Championship, he's never been treated the same since his initial call-up. And I feel that he could go back to Japan. He could go anywhere, man. Finn Balor or Prince Devitt would just be fantastic wherever he was. I would actually probably be happier with Balor leaving because he deserves to be a bigger name than what he is for WWE.
Absolutely. I mean, Finn Balor has actually said in an interview recently, I can't remember who the source was, where it was, but I believe it was BT Sport, but I'm not 100% on it, but he actually said that WWE, he needed them back in 2016.
Yeah, he doesn't need them now. Yeah.
And that was a quote from an interview that he apparently said. So that's interesting. He's just there to do his job for now. AJ Styles, if I'm not mistaken, I believe his contract is up at some point next year. So maybe that could be the thing there with the 90 days and then the 2023 joining. Have to wait and see how it'll play out. But I agree with you. The Bullet Club members, the leaders, all against one another, does sound like a dream match.
Who goes over?
Ouch. Who do you have go over?
Jay White. I reckon it would be massive for Jay White because obviously Kenny and AJ are the biggest leaders. Devitt was the original leader. I think if you had Jay White go over, it would be massive for him, and it would be the total shock because he'd be a lot of people's fourth choice in that match.
Yeah, and you know what? As a long-term booking idea, it's the correct decision as well. So yeah, I actually love that idea. Like you say, it gets him over in a way unimaginable at that point as well. If that was sort of a major main event on a pay-per-view somewhere, say it was AEW or Forbidden Door in some format, goodness, think of the buy rate, everybody. Just think of it. The numbers are only going up for AEW or those companies currently right now. Ricky Glow is in the house. He says, in your opinion, would you repackage Edge and get him a new gimmick when he returns, cut the hair, have him with like a darker Alter Bridge song, and Seth with him going babyface soon, or having sympathy for what he did for going to Edge? Good storytelling. Interesting there. I don't know if I would go with Edge with a new gimmick. I like Edge of how he is, but I mean, with Seth Rollins, I mean, I think Seth is. They're building towards a rubber match with this. They're doing very good storytelling. The match on SmackDown was outstanding. I don't even argue and say it was better than the SummerSlam match. That's how good I thought it was. I loved the emotion. I think it should have actually been the SummerSlam finish. What was you a fan of the match on SmackDown?
Yeah, the match was all right. I finally enjoyed it. I think this is building to a Mania match next year. I think Edge is going to now take time off, and it's probably going to be something like the Rumble. I don't know if maybe Seth wins the title, the Rumble. If they get separated and one of them goes to Raw, say whoever stays on SmackDown eventually wins that SmackDown Championship, and then Edge wins the Rumble again for some unknown reason, and then like this will just build to another WrestleMania match. I think that's the long-term goal with this one. These two are great in ring. As for an appearance point of view, if you're going to repackage Edge, you're only going to repackage in one way, and that's Brood Edge. That's it. Because when he come out to that Brood music, I popped hard. I really loved it, man. And then it was just a shame there to cut it in with his current music. But yeah, Brood Edge with the sunglasses on, I was all for.
It was awesome. It was a big moment. I have to agree. If they do repackage Edge, that's the way they go down. Yeah. I'm going to say they're going for the third match. I think it'll be a last man standing match, and I think it's going to take place at Crown Jewel.
Yeah, probably. But yeah, I'd rather it be on Mania, but they got to do what they got to do to sell it over there in Saudi Arabia.
Absolutely. For me, Mania would be a good place to do it because it would sell the injury for long term. It almost have that sort of Ricky Steamboat kind of vibe when Savage put him out. So I would be kind of down with that if they went down that avenue. If Kevin Steen was to walk and we see Zayn Cesaro walk with him, I feel WWE in trouble and need to wake up. As we know, we will be getting Steen and Generico versus the Young Bucks in AEW. Well, it seems to be the cool thing now, doesn't it? For people leaving WWE to go to AEW. Kevin Steen seems to be teased to be the next one that will do so. Zayn's contract goes out end of the year. It feels like it's a distinct possibility. It feels like if almost WWE is going to need to call these NXT call-ups soon because otherwise they're not going to have a roster.
Yeah, exactly. This is my biggest fear because I think Mount Rushmore reforming on AEW would be massive. The problem, this is the thing now, is WWE is no longer the place to be for the wrestlers. Yeah. The wrestlers don't have to go to WWE. Yes, they can go to WWE if it was a pipe dream as a kid, like Adam Cole. He said he spent 4 years in WWE and that was his dream. But now he can go to AEW. He's got all the creative freedom in the world to do what he wants. He's got no limitations on where he can wrestle. He's not just stuck to wrestling for AEW. He can go and do New Japan. He can go and do Rev Pro over in the UK. He can go and do Dragon Gate and all these kind of places. It's just giving the wrestlers more freedom, and it's just at the end of the day, it's their decision. They want to be creatively happy with their job. No one wants to be stuck in catering for God knows how long, like a lot of these WWE main roster stars are. It just looks like AEW is the place to be now, and it's not WWE. And they need to do something because they are going to lose a lot of big names.
Absolutely, yeah. I have to agree with that 100% indeed there. And Best would also goes on to say that Alexa Bliss and Nadal versus Charlotte and Nadal, don't make me book it, ha, ha, ha. Well, feel free to in the comments. We'll take a few more comments in there. We've got quite a few still in. We're going to get those ones done. If you want to throw a question in, probably do it in the next sort of 5 minutes or so, and then we'll close the questions off and just do the rest to the finish, because we are currently about 20 minutes behind. So that shows you we've still got a few questions to get through. So Martin Career does say that if WWE has outside competition to they feel pressure to deliver great wrestling shows to fans. So what can be, they will have I've totally lost this. I'm very sorry. WWE can give us moments like Big E's one on Raw more frequently. Do you think that the let's talk about Big E quickly, because obviously that on Raw this week, he won the WWE Championship. He sort of announced it pre-cash in. Obviously, the idea was to get more ratings. The rating didn't work on that sort of thing. We said earlier on that we hoped that Big E won't get blamed for it. But as a narrative, as a storyline, as a babyface calling it, and a babyface giving us what we were told we were going to get, that's very unlike WWE. They usually find a way to get in and out of it. Was it nice to have that feel-good story for Big E to win the WWE Championship on Raw this week?
100% it was right for Big E to win that championship. I will back Big E till the end of days. They're like, it's been long overdue, long deserved. My whole issue is that they've taken the surprise out of what the Money in the Bank cash in. Like what Nikki done. Nikki cashed it in. She didn't need to announce it on Twitter that she was going to cash it in, and it made a moment and it made it special. And this is where WWE has kind of fallen out of touch over the years. That Raw is no longer a case of watching it every week. So in case you miss something, because normally when you'd watch Raw before, you would miss a debut or a moment like, I don't know, Austin blowing up the DX Express. If you didn't watch it live, do you know what I mean? It was one of the moments you had to see there to be it. When you're foretelling that he's going to cash it in, it didn't make me want to watch the program more. All right, yes, it was on at 3-4 o'clock in the morning over here, so I wasn't very likely going to watch it anyway. But if he'd have done it and I hadn't have known he'd done it, I would have been more gutted to have missed the opportunity. But the fact that he announced he was going to do it, I was like, I'm not losing out, because I pretty much know that Big E's going to win that title. I would very much doubt that he's not going to win it. So yeah, it's this. But this is what I mean. This is what WWE shot themselves in the foot. Raw is no longer tune in every week in case you miss something. It's we're going to tell you what we're putting on, and we're basically going to forecast you the results. So you don't need to watch it.
That's a very strong point there, and I think that there's a good argument with stuff you're saying there, because, like you say, back in the old days, you would say if you didn't tune in, you missed it. I remember, like, if you go on a 2-week holiday when you were a child with the family, and you come back and then all these things have changed, people turn heel and all this sort of stuff, you'd miss so much. If you missed half an hour, you were completely lost, where now you've got recap. But at the same time, I go back to some old school stuff here, and I would turn around and say, just to play devil's advocate, if you don't mind, Steve.
Go for it.
RVD called his shot in beforehand. Of course, he did it on pay-per-view, One Night Stand 2006, arguably seen as one of the better cash-ins. John Cena did it ahead of time as well for Raw 1000, a week ahead of time. Obviously, he failed with his cash-in. Do you think that those would be still kind of problematic cash-ins like Big E's, or do you see this as different?
The problem with it is they keep doing it for baby faces. They keep doing it as a baby face, I'm the hero, I'm the good guy stereotype trope. And it's like, yes, it can work. Like Rob RVD, I guess obviously with everything we've been One Night Stand, they were back in, was it New York for the pay-per-view and all that kind of stuff. Didn't John Cena lose as well when he did it? I think John Cena lost the match when he announced. That was my other issue, is that your whole goal is to try and win that championship. And if you're going to tell the guy, all you're doing is prepping him and letting him know that you're going to cash it in. And that was my biggest flaw with it, was that I want to see John Cena win it, but I don't want him to let the opponent know that he's going to challenge him for it. It's just that's kind of a conflict with me personally, but it's a babyface trope, and it's what they do every time. Well, not every time, but a lot of the time they do it with these baby faces where it's like, I'm going to challenge you on this day for this title and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, you've taken the surprise out of what the Money in the Bank cash-in was supposed to be. They've not booked it right for years, because so many times that the people have won it, cashed it in on the same night. And it's kind of like, right, well, what was the point in having it? Because it's a year-long story. You've got a year to cash this thing in. You're never going to top the Seth Rollins one at Mania. Let's be honest. It's probably one of the greatest cash-ins of all time. But that was booked correctly because it was used over a year period. He carried the briefcase around. You saw it every week. It's just the Money in the Bank it can be either the best thing on TV or the worst thing, depending on how they book it.
Absolutely. I do agree. The Money in the Bank has its strengths and its weaknesses. There's no doubt about that. And like you say, perhaps lost some of its steam in recent years. As Martin's just gone to say with that question of feeling pressure to deliver great wrestling shows and moments to fans like Big E does and Raw more frequently. I just want to say that to get that moment this week, and for me as a show, it was better than what we were supposed to get. I enjoyed Raw this week. I think it was the best Raw we've had from SmackDown Raw
probably all year.
Perspective. Of all year, absolutely. Yeah. There's no Raw that's come close to it. I think it was the best Raw without a doubt. And I hope that WWE, because when they do have their back against the wall, they pull out better content. The only negative about it is we sat through 2 weeks we sat through 2 hours last week of a gauntlet match, and we didn't get the fallout of what we were supposed to get, which makes me wonder why I invested my time as a person who's a hardcore fan, putting that time in when I turn and say, you can change it from week to week. So continuity of storytelling, I'm not a fan that they broke that, even though I wasn't overly excited about that tag team match on Raw this week. But as moments, WWE, when their back is against the wall, they do produce their best work. And that's what I like, the fact that they may feel now they finally have to do.
When they're put under the pressure, they can knock it on the head. They can knock it out of the park. Like the NXT takeover of SmackDown, because obviously they were all stuck out in Saudi Arabia. One of the best SmackDowns they've had in a long while, because you had Daniel Bryan versus Adam Cole for the NXT Championship, and it was like one of the things you thought you'd never see. And so, when they are pressured, they can deliver some of the best content. But when card subject to change happens every 5 minutes, it really does kill the appeal. And like you said, there's no payoff for the turmoil match last week, even though it was great and it was like 2 hours long. It's just, there's no payoff for it. And same with NXT this week. There were no Raquel and Frankie Monet match, even though we were told we were getting it last week. And it's like, well, what if someone had specifically tuned in to watch that match and you've not put it on? You've made them sit through 2 hours of show to give them a product you haven't promised. It's kind of going back on their word.
It's very WCW 2000, and of course, as long as we don't get Vince Russo winning that championship, then we know we're really in trouble. But best in the world, it says here, MLW, Lucha Underground, Aztec Underground is coming back this year. I can't wait. Well, I mean, that will be my thing to get me back in. I was a big Lucha Underground fan. How about yourself?
I've never personally watched it. I know there's I know sort of the background to it, and it's more like a sitcom kind of thing, isn't it? Lucha Underground and the stories they tell. Yeah, I've never actually properly gone and watched it, even though, like I said, some of the, like I say, Ricochet and stuff as King Puma and stuff on there. I've never watched it. I should really give it a watch once and see what the hype is about.
I would recommend it highly. I think it's awesome. I was really sad that it went, really, but there you go. We've got Curtis Stone that says, did you guys see Fatu is signed to NXT and coming soon to be part of the Roman family soon? Of course, there was a Fatu that has signed with WWE recently. So, we'll have to wait.
Yeah, it's one of the cousins.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see, Well, maybe Roman's family could be, the bloodline could be getting bigger.
Yeah, I'll say, hopefully they get Naomi involved in that as well.
Absolutely. I'm going to ask for no more questions because we've got a lot of questions in and we're going to try and get through them rapid fire. Steve, you all right for another 15 minutes?
Yeah, go for it, yeah.
We'll get through as many as we can in 15 minutes then. Supersonic X, do you think that Charlotte Doll is part of a storyline? Charlotte said that she doesn't want to. We have done this question already, but we do believe that potentially it could add more flavour to the storyline, but we hope it's not Superstar and Doll versus each other.
Yeah, exactly.
In a tag team environment. That's pretty much where we got from that earlier. Best in the World says that news coming out that Bronson Reed will be signing with Impact or MLW. Murphy will be AEW bound and join the House of Black at Arthur Ashe Stadium at AEW's Grand Slam. What are your thoughts? Well, Bronson Reed, I think wherever he goes, I think could be a great star. I'd like to see him in Impact of the two, mainly because it's a show I watch, but of course MLW is swaying me more. As for Buddy Murphy, I'd be down wherever he goes, really. Again, it's great to see him on the TV screen, and I'll be down with him with Malachi Black. What would be your thoughts?
I'll follow Buddy Matthews wherever he goes. I think he's a fantastic wrestler, and putting him with Malachi Black, I think is a great move. To be fair, they'll be great together. Bronson Reed, Impact, it's the right move for me. He's a great wrestler, but I feel with AEW having such big names, I feel Bronson probably deserves to be a little bit more high than what he would be if he went to AEW. So Impact is the right shout for him.
Absolutely. No, I have to agree with that. Alex Radford, it says, how do you feel about Cameron Cross's promo? And would you like to see him on SmackDown because it would be more interesting with him and Roman and Brock if WWE, I will have Cross destroy Brock and get Cross versus Roman. Steve, you're not a fan of this?
I've completely lost everything with Karrion Kross. All his mystique. They've essentially turned him into a man. He's no longer this feared thing that he was. The first week when you lose to Jeff Hardy, everything's gone about him. I said this when he fought Samoa Joe at TakeOver for that championship. I was just like, Kross just comes across as a normal guy now. I've not invested in him. All his smoke and mirrors is gone. There's no Scarlet no more. It's going to take something special for me to get back into Karrion Kross, and it's not going to be 2 straps and a face mask.
Certainly not, no. I would say his promo on Raw this week was good. This was his best work they've done with him on Raw so far. Yeah,
my only issue was that the list of names I've beaten is growing, and it's like I'm pretty sure you've only beat 2 or 3 people. If he had been a different job every week, like with Drew Gulak and then Humberto Carrillo, just vary it up, man, and make that list 10 names instead of 3, then it might have had a bit more foot to stand on for me.
I think, it's probably a bit soon for it. Like you say, I mean, there's John Morrison, Humberto Carrillo. I think he's beat Keith Lee eventually, Jeff Hardy eventually. Didn't actually lost to those people either.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, he's working his way through. It's going to take a bit of time. But, I felt this week it was a Scarlet away from actually making a bit of sense. So let's wait and see where it goes from next. But definitely, I would like to see it at some point. But I would keep him on Raw. Just to finish that off, would you keep him on Raw? Would you move him to SmackDown as suggested there?
I'd move him to SmackDown. I think that he's been tarnished with the Raw, with the bad Raw booking at the minute. And I think he needs a restart over on SmackDown.
There you go. You're halfway there, Alex. And he also goes on to say Cameron Grimes needs to go to SmackDown, help Baron Corbin. That would be awesome. I think it could be good fun. Even a feud between the 2 of them, if not, I think could be quite fun. A money feud. And I want to see the Grizzled Young Vets in SmackDown as well. That would be awesome. Grizzled Young Veterans are amazing. I'd love to see them get a call up.
It really, really upsets me that Grizzled Young Veterans haven't been NXT Tag Team Champions yet, because I absolutely love them, and I think their character work is up there with some of the best. And I wanted to win them NXT championships first, and then I want to see them go to SmackDown. But they need to win them NXT championships first, because it's deserved.
It certainly is. I love the fact even in the wedding they still managed to give them a bit of TV time, just slating on the way down to the ring. That was quite fun, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was good.
Best of the world 1989, Cameron Grimes will be a multi-time 24/7 champion. Vince has his way, and that's sadly, I think
hopefully not. Hopefully not.
He might actually buy that championship, maybe. Maybe that could be the way. Maybe. But, maybe it's Drake Maverick's master plan. Who knows? And speaking of Drake Maverick, Steve, you've got a point. Why Drake Maverick was on Raw? Because he's a veteran. But I would like to see Drake Maverick versus Damian Priest match. That'll be good, in my opinion. I think it'd be a good match, but they've just never booked Drake Maverick to be some kind of threat, have they?
Yeah, Drake Maverick is your ideal tag team partner for a little and large combination. He's got ring ability. We all know he has. But it's just at the minute, 24/7 is probably his limit. He's probably not going to venture out of that if he's going to stay on Raw for the foreseeable future.
I would agree, but I also think that Drake Maverick can make that more entertaining. And
yes,
I actually don't think 100%, it's been too bad.
Yeah.
I don't think it's been too bad with Reggie recent weeks, but I think Drake Maverick can add something more, and it looks to be a storyline building to that. So I'm interested to see actually where it goes, believe it or not. Best of the West says talks of AEW bringing in Murphy for the Archangel Stadium to join Black and Swerve with Chris Hero join them, having Blood and Guts. Then 3 against Cody Dustin and Brock Anderson. I think it would be a bit soon to see that, but at the same time, could it be fun?
Chris Hero kind of. I don't get me wrong. I love Chris Hero. Formerly, obviously, Cassius Ohno. I don't know where he would fit in, but I'd be interested to see it. I'll be honest with you, I'm really bored of seeing Cody, because Cody just books himself to win every time, and I've got a feeling when he comes back, he's just going to beat Malachi Black, and it's going to make Black's initial win over Cody just not being as important as what it should be.
I would agree. If he does that, it does mean a hell of a lot less. And for me personally, I do want to see Malachi Black beat Cody again. I want Cody to turn heel as well. That's what I'd like to see. Chris Pauley, he says, I don't think it makes sense, but how do you feel about Drake Maverick being the new manager of the new Elias? Maybe Elias gets drafted. Certainly been an idea. I don't know what we're going to get with this new Elias. It appears to have been dropped the last few weeks. What are your thoughts on Elias and currently that not really getting much time?
Again, without much context to it, you can't really say a lot, because we're gonna get a new Elias or a new name change or whatever. What is he gonna go by? Samson, because obviously that's his initial surname that he had when he came to WWE. I have no clue. Drake Maverick as a manager for Elias, yeah, maybe, but like I said, I think the 24/7 is his limit, and I think you'd be I think keeping him in the 24/7 title is perfect for Maverick. It's just, if I think anything else is Like we saw what happened when he was with the manager of AOP, and they're urinating on the side of the ring apron, for God's sake. It just wasn't that good. I feel so sorry for him going through that.
Yeah, that was awful, wasn't it? I mean, Drake's got so much potential that he could give as a character in WWE, and they've not maximized it to its potential. It feels like his best days were as 205 Live as the GM. So I'd like to see him back as a GM, maybe. I think that could work if they ever bring them back properly one day. Jonas says, any chance we get decent storylines in time for the Rumble? If you're lucky. What do you reckon, Steve?
Yeah, the only interesting story coming out of it is who's going to win the Rumble probably at this, mate. But then I said we could all be proved wrong, and it could be a really good pay-per-view. We'll soon see.
We'll have to wait and see. I do think Becky and Bianca at the moment storyline seems quite interesting. I have been interested in what's going on in SmackDown style with storylines. Raw this week was one of its better weeks, although we're not so clear with the pay-per-view direction at this particular point. But hopefully this is a turning point this week that we've seen the last 7 days.
We stay there every time, though, don't we?
We do, and we've been proven to say maybe hopefully by the Rumble. Let's see what happens, Jonesy. Let's try and keep the faith there. And the middle name that you never knew, Dexter Gaylord Loomis. Thank you very much for sharing that with us.
Cheap Meet the Parents joke that was.
Indeed. Comedy, as they say in WWE terms. Glad they're keeping Dynamite going. Been a shaky start, but Mivens is money. The Creed brothers are hysterical, and I love them. I think that there definitely is a lot of potential with Dynamite now going forward. I was really sour on it at the beginning, but Roddy Strong as well could be the next Cruiserweight champion next week. He's going to take on Kushida.
Yeah, for what Roderick Strong was meant to be, I presumed he was meant to be like the leader of this faction, and he kind of just feels like a fourth wheel now. Because like I said, we're going for that Cruiserweight Championship. It's just not done it for me. But like I said, if he wins it, then good on him. But Creed brothers for me all the way with that faction. They've made me more interested in watching Diamond Mine again.
Absolutely, and like you said there, with the new girl as well, Ivy. I think there definitely is a lot of potential there. Yeah, I think there's a lot of potential with it now, and it almost feels like that Roderick Strong will be the leader of the group, but almost will do matches as the champion. But it feels like he's doing a lot of the coaching role as well. It's fun to see. I like it. Dan Rick is in the house. He says, "Do you think Andrade is getting managed by Ric Flair?" I didn't like the ending of Andrade with this functional character. Will be good though. And who do you want to see Chavo manage? Or Chavo versus Andrade for one last match. That's an interesting proposition, Andrade versus Chavo, but I don't know Chavo's in-ring condition at this point, but I do think Ric Flair will be managing Andrade. I think that's why they've done this very sort of rapid split between the two.
I would have preferred to have kept Chavo, if I'm honest. I think that you're just doing association by relationships when it comes to Ric Flair and Andrade. I think Chavo was doing fantastic. Chavo was almost coming at, like, I liked him as the sort of the backhanded manager that would do things behind the superstar's name. Like I said, when they tried to play off the Pac not being there for All Out, and they tried to say that it was Chavo's fault because he'd sort of done some maniacal cancellation of Pac's flight or whatever it was, or cancelled the tickets. And I really like the way that was coming across. But if that's what AEW are going to do, then I'd just let them go on with it. I'd say I'm kind of not really into Ric Flair. I think I've been like overworked with him with all this time that we used to see him with Charlotte. Just every time that they two were on screen together, I just really didn't want to see Rick with Charlotte. I'd rather just want Charlotte on her own. Same with Andrade. I don't really want to see him with Rick. I just want to see Andrade, if I'm honest.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. I do hope that whatever they do with Andrade, that he gets a better push. It feels there's been some disconnect. He's still not had that same feeling as some other stars have had in AEW. But hopefully, if Ric Flair's the one that is going to come in and manage him, hopefully that will be the turning point, however they're going to do it. But Jonesy also goes to make mention, of course, about Where is Elias, and the vignettes were so good and very dark, and everything dropped. It just, unfortunately, it is what it is. We've not seen what we wanted with it. Why is LA Knight pulling double duty, except for making Braun look good? I think it was arrogance. of LA Knight. He thought that this was a jabroni he was going to beat in 2 moves in 2 seconds, and he got his ass handed to him. And when that happened, it ruined his main event push for the NXT Championship. It was LA Knight's cockiness and that he couldn't back up what he thought he was saying at the start of the night. But it also makes Braun look good as well.
Yeah, it's just a shame because it's kind of opposite what his character's been doing lately. Like every time that he was trying to avoid a match with Grimes for so long in a rematch for that $1 million title, and yet here he is doing double duty on a night where he's facing for the biggest championship in the brand. So I don't know. It kind of just didn't make sense for me.
It doesn't make sense, but yeah, that's where I think they're going with it. And yeah, we'll have to see what the fallout of this. I think the fallout could be interesting for LA Knight going forward on NXT. Keeping things as well. Are you guys excited to see Tony D'Angelo, aka Salvatore Sincere? Loving that reference. I am indeed. I do wish they'd Googled the name before they're giving him that name, but yeah, I mean, it's you know. I am interested to see what they're going to bring to the table with him.
I'm pretty sure I used that name for a creator wrestler on WWE 2K a couple of years ago as well. That Tony D'Angelo. So yeah, it was. I saw it and I was just like, wow, it's so stereotypical bad. It's unreal. But like I said, it could be interesting because I can't recall a character of that sort of mafia background previously. So I'm actually looking forward to seeing him.
It could be interesting. It could lead to a team as well, a stable. There's the world's the oyster with this. Yeah, the family. Exactly. Yeah, there's some potential with it. I'm interested in what it's going to be. Like you say, I don't know. Yeah, exactly. I got those vibes. It's cool. I may need to watch a Robert De Niro movie just through seeing that vignette. Honestly, I loved it. Brilliant. I can't say.
Come to my house and you disrespect my family. That's what I want to see. I want to see someone do it.
It's got to be done. It has got to be done. In your opinion, is it just me or the Elite kind of like the Roman storyline? I love all, but I kind of feel like the Elite is here. Who'd be the one to beat Omega? Same for Roman. Interesting. Dan, thanks for your question. I still think that Hangman Page is going to be the one to defeat Kenny Omega. Roman Reigns, I'm going to stick my neck out and say Drew McIntyre to do it when he goes over the SmackDown, but that's just me. I don't feel that the stables are kind of different. I do feel in my own way they represent their own thing, even though Roman's kind of like acknowledged me. Yes, Kenny is kind of the same, but the Elite is kind of like they kind of are a bit more obnoxious, where Roman is just, he's got more suave and arrogance about him.
Yeah. I can get where you're coming from with the point, but yeah, I'd like to say at least with the Elite that they can lose titles, whereas obviously I can't remember what they call themselves now, Roman and the Usos, they've got all the titles. So yeah, I can see where the point coming across is, but yeah. The person to beat Omega, it's going to be Hangman. It has to be. If it's anyone apart from Hangman, I'll be shocked. And Roman, I want to say Finn Balor. I just want to see. I want to see the Demon not go defeated. If I'm honest.
Yeah, I agree. Last couple now for us. Cody needs to turn heel. You see, Steve, face expression. I agree. SCW, he needs to turn heel. Absolutely agree. Jonesy asks, what do you think of Vince Russo being added to WWE Creative?
I'll pass on that one. I'm not Vince's biggest fan. Why do you say that? He does have some good ideas, but to be fair, I think Vince would just do the same thing that he's done, and that he would just keep redoing stuff that he used to do in the 90s that wasn't getting over in the first place.
It'd be interesting. I mean, I wouldn't be against it. This is the thing. I think that he could add something. I mean, I am a Vince Russo fan. I was a fan of the work back in '98. I wasn't a fan of WCW stuff, but I mean, obviously, if there's a filter in amongst there with that, and you can find the good ideas out of the bad, and try and make it more of a television show again, try and maybe get it with mainstream media and stuff like that. Maybe there is a possibility it could work. But
I thought Vince and Bruce Pritchard hated each other anyway. That's what I'm saying. Putting them two together is just like I don't know, throwing a plugged-in toaster into a bath. You're just waiting for something bad to go wrong.
Maybe that's part of the fun. Who knows?
True.
And we've got Best of the World. It says my last question. It's going to be our last question today because I think we've given you a very long stream today. If you was going to run up your own wrestling company from scratch, who would be your signings? B, both of you can answer this. You're allowed 4 championships. Be unique as you can. Interesting question.
Well, you got for me a world title, a women's title, a tag team championship, and then I'd have something like an internet championship where it's everything that's used for is decided by the fans, so they get to pick the next opponent, they get to pick the match stipulations. Do you know what I mean? More of an interactive title, just to make the fans feel part of it. If I was to go with wrestlers, if I was to pick anything from the current thing, I would go with Kevin Owens as my top guy. Top female, I would go. That's probably the harder one of the decision. I would probably. I couldn't tell you. Tag team Grizzly Young Veterans, because I think they're great. I think their character work's unbelievable. And if I was going to pick a quote unquote mid carder, I would probably pick someone like Apollo Crews, because Apollo Crews is fantastic in work, and now he's established a character. I want to see a lot more of him.
I like the style there. I think it's good. If I was doing my own wrestling from scratch, I would try and do stuff quite character-based if I can, but I'd also like to try and have a good in-ring work as well. But yeah, 4 championships. I love your internet idea. I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
But I would go with the traditional. I think World Championship, Tag Championship, Women's Championship. I'd go with the Television Championship. I think something that's defended on TV every week. I like that aspect from when watching like sort of classic WCW, even though I couldn't see that apparently it was defended on house shows. Blasphemy. I'm not a fan of that idea, but I never saw that. So I'm cool with that. As for people I would book, I mean, I'd have CM Punk as the champion because CM Punk is just a name value in itself right now. I like the idea of that, and CM Punk, meant to be best in the world, and I can see it on the hat there, so I'm definitely picking him. For women's champion, I'm going Deonna Purrazzo because right now I think she's absolutely killing it with her work. I love what she's doing. Tag champs, I love the Grizzled Young Veterans like you've picked there, but just to be different, I'm going to go with the Lucha Bros just because of the fact that I think that they offer a unique presence with that. And for the TV champion, I'll go for LA Knight because he does represent kind of the characteristics of what I'm looking for in a character. I think his cockiness, obnoxiousness, and he's fantastic on the mic skills as well. So, yeah. But, yeah, I mean, I want to get MJF in there, but unfortunately, I just haven't got enough spaces at this particular moment. He can take on CM Punk. There we go for the World Championship. There you go. You've got that covered. But just before we go, I did ask before we started this video off if people did enjoy NXT 2.0, and I want to pick out what I thought was the best comment from it. So I'm just going to throw that on screen right now. It's from Micah Townhouse. Mike gets involved a lot on the channel, and he actually said that he recorded, watched the last minutes. He loved the new arena setup, looks more energetic, and production makes arena look bigger. He's not fond of the color scheme though, but he was very surprised Ciampa won. He thought Dunn would win it and have Ciampa chase for the championship. Thought the wedding was good and funny. Was expecting chaos, but was very high on Rick Steiner's son. Huge potential and early to put the title on him. He should lose the match and narrowly and eventually turn heel to then beat Rex Steiner as well. I'll put that on the screen one more time there. He hopes to watch the fault of NXT tonight. And I must admit, I agree with a lot of his thoughts there. And I'm excited to see what the brand's going to have going forward. And just to finish off, are you excited to see what the brand has going forward?
Yeah, it's just a case of sticking with it. Like I said, I know obviously Vince is involved, but have faith. It is NXT, and I know a lot of this out with the old and in with the new, but hopefully it can still be what NXT what it is and is one of the best shows on TV. It's just going to take some time with all these new names and faces to come in and be established. But like I said, it's just give it some time.
Absolutely, indeed. There. Well, that's all we've got for today anyway. And just before we go, I want to say, NXT, thank you so much for joining us. Just give us a bit of a plug for Jonesy Chats Wrestling before we make a vacate.
Yeah, head over to Jonesy Chats Wrestling. I do NXT reviews every week. We've been on a bit of a hiatus recently just because everything that's been going on in the world of wrestling and kind of almost waiting to see what happens with everything. But now that, NXT is back up and running and it's on a live schedule every week, I'll be going back to doing them reviews. As well as we do predictions and reviews of all pay-per-views and stuff like that. Even AEW as well. I know most of our stuff tends to be a lot of WWE based, but we do like to chime in with AEW every once in a while.
Absolutely, indeed, there. And I have had a thing from Dan Rick seeing if I'd seen his question. I have not. I've missed that one question if there is one there. So do throw that in quickly for us, very quickly. He's asked what was our favourite Norm Macdonald movie. Unfortunately, I'm not so much familiar with his work, sadly.
I don't, unfortunately, but sorry.
I'm very sorry to hear that, but apparently he has passed away. So he says, rest in peace to Norm. Macdonald was very funny on Saturday Night Live growing up. Unfortunately, we didn't have the access to watch Saturday Night Live.
Oh, yeah, unfortunately, yeah.
But if he has passed away, then of course rest in peace, and thoughts are with of course family and friends of his, and of course fan base as well. But that's all from us anyway. Thank you for watching anyway. Please like the video, share, subscribe as well. More videos will be dropping throughout the week, also including the latest retro review. SCW Rewind will be back on Saturday. Going to be doing Extreme Rules 2012, which was main evented by Brock Lesnar and John Cena. So you might want to tune in for that one with us on Saturday. We'll be joined by Nonstop Wrestling Chat and Scott Retro Wrestling. But that's all from us anyway. Steve, I'm very sorry I've kept you for a long one tonight.
No, you're all right,
man. But I hope everyone's enjoyed it anyway. Please drop a comment in the comment section after as well on this one video. Let us know what you thought about any of the talking points today. I look forward to interacting with you. Thank you for watching. Have this as a good one. You've been watching SCW Live Q&A here on YouTube. Take care. All the best.